Welcome to See You Next Tuesday. I'm Jade Chung. I am so excited to catch up with one of my friends. You know him as the EVP of IMPACT Wrestling, Scott D'Amore. Scott was the very first promoter to ever really book me and book me seriously. And what I mean was he gave me a chance. Scott really helped my career, not only with doing his shows regularly, but also being able to branch out to the Windsor area and Michigan area. Working for Scott, I had amazing opportunities where I got to work alongside with the franchise Shane Douglas. I learned so much from him alone, and being able to work with other great talents really helped myself as a manager. So you know Scott as the Border City Wrestling promoter, owner, and the EVP of IMPACT Wrestling, but do you actually know Scott D'Amore? I thought it would be super fun to bring him on and just talk about himself, obviously, but to know what Scott was, before wrestling, or even in the very, very early days of wrestling, because I do know that Scott used to work WWF matches. So let's get to know him. I cannot wait to bring up him dancing because he can bust out moves. Let me tell you. All right, let's get to it. Please help me welcome the Executive Vice President of IMPACT Wrestling, Scott D'Amore. Scotty boy. Scotty boy. Does anybody call you Scotty boy?
I think you at a Raptors or a Jays game is maybe the only person on the planet that does it. It might be the only one that can get away with it.
There you go. There you go. Speaking of the Jays or Raps, listen, what's going on? When was the last one that we went to? 2016? 2016.
No, it can't be that long.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, with me.
Wow. I guess the team kind of went to pot. So that probably took away some of the love. And you actually went out and became an adult and all that stuff, the marriage and children and being a mom. Very true. Yeah, I guess so. Josh stole my standing sporting event date in Toronto that I had for years. And, Jen, you might have been the best relationship I never had in my life. We never fought. We had a good time. We had 2 kids together, Channing Decker and Trent Gibson. We did. Hey, at least we did a decent job of raising one of them. The other one, he's a free spirit. We love him anyway.
Yeah. Free spirit. That's a good word.
Nobody has any idea what we're talking about.
No, nobody. They're like, huh? What? Okay, which is better, Blue Jays game or the Raptors game?
I prefer baseball, right? I love baseball. It's my first love. If there's one thing I could have done for a living, it would have been play baseball. If you would have said I could headline WrestleMania every year and make $10 million, or I could have rode the buses and made $26,000, I think I might have chose baseball because I just effing loved it. Loved everything about it. Not that I don't love wrestling. I love wrestling. I always did. But there was something about it's the smell of the grass. It's the fact that in wrestling it's ice packs and not these days anymore, but the fear of pain pills and everything else, and all the injuries in baseball. You warm up by stretching and you karaoke around the outfield and you play a game of pepper. It's it's a game you can play every single day and just not be hurt. So I loved it. I ultimately chose I also chose wrestling. Really, my utter lack of complete talent for baseball might have helped me along. But it's funny. I was talking to somebody today, and I was talking about, because I played baseball when I was a teenager in the States, and there's super competitive baseball over there.
Oh,
and I was having a hell of a year. I was 16. I was tearing it up, because it's one of those things when somebody comes into the major leagues and nobody knows them. All these kids, because we're all kids, just want to throw their heat, right? And I can hit a fastball all day. I can't hit curveballs. My life depends on it. So these guys are piping me heat. I'm peppering the ball everywhere. I'm like, I have like one of the top averages in the state of Michigan. There's a scout, because you kind of start learning who the scouts are. And I knew this guy was a scout. Somebody pointed him out. And he one day said to me, whenever I see the Windsor Titans on my schedule, I look forward to it because you play baseball the way baseball was meant to be played. And I like grew 3 inches taller and 4 inches wider. I was like, oh, thank you so much, sir. And as we had a chat, I looked at him, I go, so do you think there's any chances as I progress that I could possibly get drafted? And he looked at me and goes, no fucking way.
What?
And I was just like, ah. And then he proceeded to give me one of those talks that, looking back on my life, is probably a great talk for me to have. Because my baseball coach had told me, you have to choose. You can't do this effing wrestling and play baseball. And I was still kind of torn because I hadn't even had a wrestling match at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I played baseball my entire life, 16 my entire life. You know, I started playing at 4. And I was crushed. And he kind of nicely told me, he said, look, the reasons I like watching you play is because you do all the things that so many players your age don't do. He goes, you get into that left-handed batter stance and off the first base so fast. You run the bases super tight and smart. You know, he's like, you never swing at the first pitch. He goes, you have a good eye. You're patient. He goes, all these things. He goes, are amazing. He goes, but these are all things we can teach these other guys. We can't teach you to be taller. He goes, you're slow as fuck. He goes, you make a routine play in the outfield look spectacular. Just because the other day, he goes, against Cincinnati, he goes, there was a fly out. Any other player just would have got under it, had a cup of coffee and caught it. Because you misread it 3 times and then made this rumbling, this diving, stumbling catch. It looked awesome. But it's only because you're horrible and don't know how to judge a ball. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it was one of those things. And he was super nice. He said, look, he goes, as you progress in levels, he goes, all of these guys are going to get better. And you're not. And it's tough to hear. Like, especially like, you know, we talk about like kids and playing at 16, playing competitive baseball around the Midwestern United States. You're no longer playing to have fun with your friends, right? Like I had games 6 days a week. We played 7 games.
Oh, wow.
6 days. We played Monday through Friday. We had doubleheaders on Saturday. And then Sundays we had off. We just took batting practice. So you're playing competitive baseball. This isn't, you know, hey, we're having fun. So a talk like that, as much as it sucked, like this guy's job is to find, maybe, what if I never run into this guy? What if I never have that conversation? What if I go to Doug Shabaya, the Canadian Australian, and say, you know what? I'm a fucking great hitter. You know, I'm going to stick with baseball. I certainly wouldn't be playing for the Blue Jays, even the Dunedin Blue Jays. Like, you know, like I'd be lucky to be playing rec league. So stuff like that, you look back on and you go, that's a pretty good interaction in life, even though it sucked at the time. Yeah. It set me up because of like less than 2 weeks later, I went to the manager of the team and I said, I heard what you said. I understand. I go, I totally get it. He's like, cool. And I go, so I'll finish out the year. I would like to finish out the year if you let me, but I understand if you just want to cut me. And he let me finish out the year.
Oh, that's nice. That's good.
Yeah. So, and then I went on to focus on wrestling, which kind of turned out okay for me.
Kinda.
So I guess to answer your question, probably baseball. To get back to the question of whether it's a Raptors game or Jays, probably a Jays game most of the times. But basketball games, as somebody who stopped watching basketball for years after like the '80s Celtics went down, basketball is so much more fun. They have embraced it being a spectacle. Mm-hmm. So going to the ACC, or what is it now, Scotiabank, I guess. Mm-hmm. And watching a Raptor, like it's a great experience. And we had a lot of fun, right? Like we had a cool little group that, you know.
Yeah,
said, you, me, Channing Decker, Trent Gibson, 4 completely different human beings that, other than wrestling, have really not much in common.
Correct, yes.
But we bonded. We would go, usually me and you would grab a drink, maybe a bite. They might join, they might not. We'd all roll to whatever game. We'd have some drinks, have some laughs. We'd end up at that kooky, disgusting, you know, industry bar, underground garage, which is neither underground or garage. And we would just hang out and drink and laugh and dance and watch Decker dance with every woman in the place. And then I learned after a couple of times, I wore clothes those nights that at the end of the night when I got back to the hotel, I just peeled them off and threw them away because they were going to be drenched in use. It was like being, I said it's the equivalent of being at an ICP show. I learned quickly doing ICP concerts, whatever you wear on stage, don't ever plan on wearing again. You get off stage, you take off your shirt, your shorts, your shoes, your socks, your underwear, whatever you got, because that Fago is just going to destroy it. Well, the Underground Garage was the equivalent of being at a gathering of the Juggalos, both in the awesome fun and the fact that your clothes were ruined forever.
And I think that place was called the Underground too. Was it not?
Yeah, it was called Underground Garage, and that's what I'm saying.
Oh, was it?
On the second floor, and there wasn't even a freaking garage door.
Oh gosh, you guys, okay, a lot of you don't know, but Scott is a really dope dancer.
The absolute worst dancer in the world, but just don't give an F, right? Like you're not catching me dance at a nightclub, right? If we're rolling out and we're going to a nightclub and we're all dressed up, like I'm not the guy who's hitting the dance floor. But if it's us goofs at the Underground Garage on a Tuesday night, like, yeah, we're just gonna be stupid. Like, I think how bad my dancing was helped because you and Decker are so good, and then Trent just dances like the preppy kid from college in his loafers.
So preppy, but like it's a hip hop place.
100%. I remember going to the DJ and being like, "Do you have any Sinatra?"
Oh,
and he's
God.
like, "What?" I go, "Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis."
Oh,
and I go, "These are hip cats, dude." It's just like, get the fuck away from
and
me.
you wonder why people think you're old as shit.
Well,
you have old beautiful soul. That's why. But
yeah, sure. And it didn't help that I was thinking about this the other day, like, well, shit, no wonder people thought I was so old. My friends were Ted DiBiase, Terry Taylor, like these type of guys. And it's like, well, they are all 20 years older than me. But to me, it was awesome. I got to grow up, I grew up watching these people. And then it's like, I saw Arn Anderson the other day. And, we were just laughing about a couple old things. It meant a lot more to me than it did to him because I was just some schleb. But I'll never forget being in the van and being like, I'm going to a bar with Arn Anderson. Like all I want to do is get him to throw up four fingers with me, and do the horseman,
yeah,
in the club. And I'm 19 years old. I'm in a club with freaking Arn Anderson, drinking Zimas,
Okay, so you seem like a guy who obviously doesn't like mark out or anything. And, even with the way you're talking right now with Arn Anderson and being at like 19 years old, how, like, where did you, was it baseball? Like, where did you learn to just like keep your composure and just keep professional and all that stuff?
I don't know. And I mean, everybody marks out on some level. Like some internalize it more than others. Like I came up in a generation at the tail end of a generation. Like I was talking about this, Jericho was part of it, and Lenny Sinclair. We were like the last of the territory days. And I caught the tail end, right? I mean, I was in Grand Prix when it was on life support. I did a little run in Stampede Wrestling. I did like the tournaments like in Germany. Like catching the tail end of this stuff. It was such a different world. Like I remember being told you never take a picture with somebody.
Yeah.
So you think about it. I missed my senior English exam in high school to go wrestle on WWF Superstars. And then here I am. I'm in this locker room, like Bret Hart, like notices I have a Canadian flag, is having a conversation with me. I'm not allowed to be like, "Hey, Bret, I'm a huge fan."
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to take a picture. You have to, like, it's the old saying, act like you've been there. And I was so petrified to do any of that. And now I see, and I think it's so much better. I see people that come in, sometimes maybe too much, but taking pictures and like, "Hey, do I be able to take this for my social media?" And, grabbing pictures with talent, like top talent.
Yeah.
And It's probably a better system. And then those people have those keepsakes. Now, I mean, I guess my thing is I have those memories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be cool to have a few pictures? Like, I have so few pictures just in general. One, because it sucked back then having to carry around a camera, you know? Camera
True,
phones
yes.
are game changing. But yeah, it was just, it was how it was. Like, I remember somebody in WCW taking pictures in the locker room with us, like it was like with Sting and that. And I remember Sting like being like, yeah, sure. And he's one of the nicest guys in the world. Like, he's a real class act.
Mm-hmm.
But he's taking the picture and he's almost kind of looking at us like, what the? And I remember hearing one of the office guys say, I don't ever want to see that guy in the locker room again.
Yeah.
And that's what the business was then.
Yeah.
So, so you take your wins. I get to drink Zimas with Arn. I get to, have Ric Flair come up and ask me, he does that thing where he stretches and puts his hands up and give him a pull. I got to do that. Those things will live in my brain till the day I died. Right. Jimmy Hart coming up, and not me and Jimmy Hart now being such good friends now. He has no recollection of this conversation. He came up to me and my partner at the time once in Disney, and he put us over so strong after a match we had with Marcus Bagwell and Scotty Riggs. And it was fine. It was like a good 7-8 minute TV match. It was like one of those things where it was supposed to be the American males against somebody else who was a higher caliber than us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the show's already timed. So when somebody got hurt, I can't remember who, it might have been the Cuban Commandos. But when somebody got hurt, throw in D'Amore and Apollo. But they're too lazy to change it from 8 minutes to 5 minutes where it should be. So they're like, just let these guys go to 8 minutes. Like, who cares? Like, it's pro or whatever. So we got to go out there and have like some fun and have a match. And we used to team on independence, myself, Otis Apollo, Bobby Clancy. We were interchangeable. So we got to go out there and do our flip clothesline and the stuff where like I hit the shoulder, to the sliding shoulder to the stomach, and Apollo follows up with a neck break. And we got to do some cool shit. And I got to do a moonsault, which nobody really did back then. Very few people.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember getting the back and Jimmy Hart coming over and he's talking, oh my God, and you guys in Canadian, like the Rougeos, baby, so much heat. Those tag team moves like the Midnight Express. And we left there and Otis was going to quit his job. He worked at Caesars Casino. Like, nice union gig, good money. He's like, we're wrestlers. We get back there 2 days later. Jimmy Hart doesn't know who we are.
Oh.
Because that's what it is. But at the time, like, knowing Jimmy, it was sincere. He watched the match. It was a good TV match. Yeah. He was putting us over. Now, probably 15 other horrible things happened. Like, me and Apollo left there, and we just got to hang out by the pool and drink that night and the next day because we had a day off. And we're like, oh, man, this is the best. Like, we're wrestling stars. Jimmy Hart probably had to deal with somebody not wanting to put somebody over and somebody's visa getting denied and maybe somebody getting arrested or failing a drug test. Like, he's dealing with all that shit. Then he sees us two bimble fucks and it's like, you don't remember who we are from 2 days ago? Like, it might as well be 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But those memories, I mean, I guess I'll call those the pictures of my generation.
Yeah, see, I'm such a like a physical photo person. And Jeff Kavanaugh and I talked about this on my podcast, how much it sucked not being able to take pictures. And even like you're talking about your time, even in 2005, 2006, 2007, when I was around, and it was the same thing. You were looked at as a super fan and it wasn't allowed in the locker room. And I wanted these memories. And especially now, like with my youngest Jet, he is obsessed with wrestling. And it would be so nice to show him all these pictures and tell all these stories because I myself don't remember a lot. I don't remember a lot, but if I had pictures, then it would be nice to kind of reminisce about that. You know what I mean? And
100%.
Yeah.
And it was a thing that lingered for years and years, probably long past when it probably stopped making sense. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it sucks. Like, I was, it was a little while ago. I have no concept of time. I'm sort of like a dog in that sense. So I don't know if it's 3 weeks ago or 6 months ago. was talking with a couple people and we're talking about just this. And I was like, the other day, somebody asked me for a picture of me and D'Lo, D'Lo Brown, who is one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. My mother calls D'Lo, her mocha son.
Oh,
he's been he's lived at my house 3 different times in the span of his life. And we lived together on the road. We traveled together, roomed together at times, lived in Al-Snow school together. He is as much a brother as I think 2 human beings can be in life. And I have some recent pictures, but like I sent them and somebody goes, yeah, no, I was thinking about pictures from back when you guys were doing indies in the 90s, or maybe around that period when he was with WWF and you'd come in and do some shots and you'd write. And I was I can't find anything. Not a single shot of me and D'Lo from when we met in 94, 95, whatever it was.
Oh, wow.
Through all of that, through that whole Attitude Era, through him living at my house. I even thought God, there's gotta be a picture of me and him, at a barbecue, nothing. And it's just, you look at stuff like that. That's why I've just kind of started to learn in the last little bit, shoot, let's try. It was funny. We were in San Diego where the entire world went to pot. And Don Callis looked at me because we did almost a creative retreat, because we usually did creative at my house. Mm-hmm. So we went to San Diego, rented a house, just a couple blocks off the beach. It was amazing. We took a break. We rode scooters down to the beach. This is when you're this is the wrestling business is the best. Our entire creative team, other than Tommy Dreamer, who's too uncoordinated, are riding scooters to the beach in San Diego. And Dreamer's driving a car like the truly old man he is. And we're on the boardwalk, and Don's like, "Oh, let's take a picture, Scott." And I'm almost like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Let's take a picture. It's nice." He goes, "Got the beach, the sun." And I'm like, "I guess." And then he pointed out, he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "My girlfriend pointed out to me that," he goes, "well, you and Scott are the best of friends." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You talk every day?" He's like, "Yeah, sometimes 5, 6, 7 times a day." And she goes, "Don't you find it weird you don't have one picture of him?" And Nat's mm-hmm. was kind of no. But then we talked about it, and that's what screwed up people from our generation. We didn't think about it. And yeah, so now I try to take the time. I want to have a picture. I had to struggle for something. I had to struggle. It took me days. I needed somebody's help to find a picture of me and Jeff Jarrett. As close as we worked together for as many years, many times I worked out of the basement of his house in the TNA days. All those times, I couldn't find a picture. I had to reach out to a friend of mine who I went to Nashville with years ago and said, "Hey, when me, you, and Jeff and Karen went for lunch, do you have pictures per chance?" And of course, she's like, "Well, absolutely." And she sends me 15 different shots.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I needed this in my whole career. Somebody who was smart enough to take the pictures that I didn't.
See, but did you like taking pictures back then?
I hate taking pictures now. I didn't like taking them then. I don't like taking them now. Something about taking pictures I don't like, but there's something now that I realize, and maybe it's getting a little older and having a little perspective. It would be nice to have some of those memories captured. So now it's almost I begrudgingly, I don't want to take it in the moment, but once we take it, okay, I'm glad we took it because now we have that.
See, because I remember when we went to, I think it was the first baseball game, and I'm like, "Oh, let's take a picture." And you're just like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Oh, he's really weird about this." So I was like, "Okay, whatever." So we took it. I think that's the only picture. Even you came to my wedding, and I don't even know, I thought I took a picture with you, but it was mine and Josh's anniversary last week. And so I was going through the wedding photos, and there's one photo. And that one photo is the back or side of you with me and you just talking. And that was the only photo. I'm like, I could have sworn because I was taking pictures with everybody. Just the photographer was like, try
Oh,
and get as many photos as you can with guests because it'll go by so fast. So try to, we'll follow you. Just try to get pictures with everybody so that you can reminisce later on. And yeah, that was my only photo with you,
well,
other than
I
that
think
baseball one.
I think the photographer's holding out because I swear, and I've been hitting the head a lot. I swear I remember you almost like Mama Jen and me, and basically telling me like we were taking a photo. And I was like, yeah, okay, like I'm in a suit, I shaved for this,
I see. I
you
thought
know.
I did too. So then maybe
I
was it just
swear
like
we
my
did. Yeah.
phone camera then? Then I really have to look. I really have to
Yeah,
look.
there was, and I'm shocked that we only took because it's funny because I remember that because I know we took some group shots because I have them like me like sometimes it was just the four of us. Sometimes I think there's a couple of shots of me and you. Some like I remember actually when I was looking for pictures 3 weeks or 3,000 years ago, whenever it was in my jumbled brain. And I remember like, oh, like, I had some really cool pictures with Jen. Like we had some fun at those games, right? Like our own little 4-horse people or whatever it was. And but then there'd be
Yeah.
stuff like when Showtime and Sarah and Rosemary and other. It's like it wasn't like I remember people being like, "Oh, well, I don't want to like I know you get like the frat and you and Jade like no, like we're just people that just go out and have drinks and like laugh, go to a game, like have fun." So
Yeah.
whether it's 2 people or 20 people, great. So but there's a couple of those there, and I found those. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I have some shots because I know you made me take some selfies, and then I had another friend in and around the same time, and she was insistent. Like her thing was, and I actually it's the one that I called for the pictures with Jeff, and
Mm.
it's like I was like, I really appreciate because she would literally be like, okay, it's just like, okay, this is how this is going down. Okay, listen to me. You're going to take a fucking picture and you're going to make it look like you're having a good time, whether you are or not, or I'm going to make your fucking night miserable. Boy, I hope we can swear on you. And if not, you can beep it. But like but it was like so intense. Like she grabbed me like there was a big, like I thought, oh my God, like somebody's being arrested. And then she hits me with that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to throw up deuces. I'm going to teach you how to make, pouty lips. Like we are going to take some fucking photos. And I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. Like, seems a whole lot better than us fighting for the rest of the night. Like you win.
How was your pouty lip photo?
I got some decent pucker game. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. It's a ridiculous photo. It's me and Grado, who, if you've never met, is one of the funniest human beings in the history of the entire human race, and probably predating it. If you go to Caveman and everything else, like he is just a funny dude, and he's all bedazzled up. And I think I have his body. We look like ridiculous, and we both are like over the top, like pouty lip, whatever you call it. And because Grado used to say I was his dad. One of his things is being like, "Oh, my dad's in the fucking Bullet Club," and stuff like that, right? When I was like the worst member in the history of the Bullet Club. Excuse me. And he's like, "Oh, look at this photo of me and my dad." And then he looks at it one time. He goes, "Oh fuck!" And I go, "What?" He goes, "This looks like I'm a lesbian and you're my mom. You're my mom." He goes, and I'm like, "Oh," and he goes, "Oh fuck, we're still pretty hot though." But we look utterly ridiculous. So I think part of it is you come from my generation. You come from a time when like I almost didn't want to smile, because
Yeah.
you had to be tough. You had to be serious, and that was wrestling, but it was also the other parts of my life at times, right? Like you had to fucking have it, had to respect. And you have to just, if you're going to take photos, like sure, you can take a nice photo. You can take that once or twice. You can take a silly, stupid photo like 100 different ways. So I think part of it is just learning, just embrace it and take some stupid photos. And it makes everybody else happy.
Yes.
It's sort of like dancing. I never danced until really the underground garage. You made me dance.
Shut up. Really?
100. You did not see me. I would like, you talk to anybody, I didn't do dance floors.
Well, the way you were moving on the floor there, kind of just owning it.
Well, the thing was, you danced so fucking hip and cool. right?
There.
Right? Like
Easy.
you are like just fucking schooling it. And then Decker is dancing like a 70s porn actor. So I just think we had a good group, and I'm just an uncoordinated half dago, buffoon who's just kind of like, well, I don't care, so here we are.
Good.
That's what
dancing is about.
100%. But I didn't know that because I never wanted to let go. I had to reach a point in my life where I was like, I really don't give an F what anybody thinks. I don't care if people think I'm tough, because I'm not. I don't care if people think that I'm smart, because I'm no smarter than most of the people in the world. No, I just don't give a fuck what they think. Doesn't mean I don't value people,
Mm-hmm.
Don't need the clickbait. Scott says people can go fuck themselves. But you just have to know, like, those people's opinions or whatever don't carry a lot of weight on you.
Yeah.
Like, how many people in the entire world do their opinions really affect you? Like, it sucks. Like, if person A doesn't like me, like, oh, why don't they like me? Like, that sucks. But then really, you stop thinking about it and it's gone, because there's so few people in the world that it really matters whether they like you, dislike you, approve of you, don't approve of you, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right. So let's talk about age. Okay.
We're going to talk about how old you're getting?
Not exactly.
Because I'm getting younger. It's on Twitter. A few people have said it. How does Scott D'Amore look younger now than he did 20 years ago? And so, like, I'm winning this race.
Josh and I were just sitting on the couch, and he was just like, oh, no, he's like, in his 40s or something. I'm like, no chance. No chance. He's got to be late 40s, 50s. And he looked at me and he starts laughing and he says, I cannot wait. I'm going to text Scott right now. I said, why would you do that? He's like, no, this is great. I'm like, literally. Okay. I literally thought you were older, not because I'm saying you look older or anything, but I met you, obviously. Oh, and I should have started the podcast off thanking you, because when I was doing my podcast with Jeff, I said, I need to thank him. Thank you for being the first one to book me. And with you booking me, that gave me so much confidence in my entire career. It helped me. And so, Scott, thank you. I love you. Thank you for telling me to put on more makeup.
Oh, this is where I get canceled. Jesus.
But it's true. For camera, you need to pop out. It's just like wrestling with your moves. You need to sell. You need to really, move your, show with your body that you're selling. So same thing for managers as well. It's just, looking the part. Anyway, because you had Border City Wrestling, I just thought you were probably in your 30s then, because you carried yourself so well, so professionally, and well, you have your own freaking promotion, and that's why I thought you were old as shit.
Old as shit.
Let's go back. Let's talk about WWF, WCW. How old were you when you were working there?
I mean, I guess like I never worked there personally. I was never a contracted performer at either of those places. I did my first WWF match. It would have been around this. It was right around this time. It was June. It was June of 1993, and I got to miss my senior high school, my senior English exam, to go wrestle in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, you just said, okay, but wait, how old were you when you started wrestling?
I would have been 18. I think I started training when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had my first match when I was 17, and I would have been 18 when I wrestled in for that time, that I would have been 18 still. And then 2 weeks after that, I started getting booked in WCW with some regularity. So yeah, I was 18. Like, I was just like, holy shit! Like I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be in history class, and instead I'm here.
Okay, how did you end up there? You were 18. You
Yeah,
had like 2 years under your belt, right?
yeah. I mean, really, I had probably had 15 matches, maybe. Like I
Yeah.
remember getting drilled into me, like going to that WWF show. You've been wrestling for over 2 years, and you've had over 100 matches. And I'm sitting there, and anyone who knows me knows I'm a horrendous liar. Like I'm a horrendous liar. I don't like to lie. I've built a pretty good reputation on saying the truth, even when I shouldn't, which gets me in a lot of trouble. And I hated the fact. And the funny thing was, I was so stressed out about it. Nobody there ever actually asked me, which was great. But that was the thing. I got booked there because one of my trainers, Mickey Doyle, he was friends with a guy by the name of Charlie Fulton. And if anybody's ever, you can look up some great old, horribly great old Charlie Fulton matches from like Madison Square Garden and stuff. He was like an underneath guy that worked a lot for Vince Sr. And he was one of those guys that they would call when they were in the Midwest and they'd say, hey, Charlie, we need 15. Because remember back then, superstars, like WWF superstars and Challenge or whatever show they had at that time was basically enhancement matches, right? It was here's your star, here's your red meat that's going to get killed. So you're probably booking, you're probably 30, job guys, enhancement personnel, extras, whatever the term of the day was. So Mickey had basically called Charlie and said, hey, I got 3 boys here. They're really good. They're young. They take great bumps. And if you could ever, and Charlie was like, yeah, I can use them in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So.
How much were you shitting yourself?
I think at that point you're almost too dumb. Like there's a great thing. There's a great thing about being so inexperienced and so wet behind the ears. You just don't even know. Like one of my students, he pops me all the time. Good young talent, so I'll put him over here. Sheldon Jean, who's out of the Ottawa region, talented guy. He was on Big Brother Canada, and so the whole thing shut it down. And I think that Carney SOB might have won the thing because he gets the game. Yeah, like he was like head of house like 2 or 3 times. Like he's just schooling. But he's a great athlete. But he looked at me one day when there was a certain person, and I'm like I almost never lose my cool. I was getting ready to lose my cool, and Sheldon walks over, oh so sly, and he's just kind of like waving his hand like no. And he's like, you can't get mad at him, coach. And I go, what? He goes, you can't get mad at him. And I go, why? He goes, because coach, he don't know. And I just burst out laughing. And there's something to that, right? At 18 years old, when I got booked to wrestle for the WWF for the first time, my biggest concern was I need to go talk to my English professor because I can't do this English exam because I'm a wrestler. And I was scared to go talk to my English professor or teacher, professor. It's high school. I remember being so scared to go see Mr. Huckle, who was like, he's your typical pot smoking, English teacher.
Typical.
I think like he was that English teacher that was like, oh, time. It's not about time. Like you can't force writing, Like, if you don't have it ready for the deadline, let's create a new deadline. There's a book where you just tell them when the deadline ends. If you don't feel like you can be creative in this space, that's not a space you can be creative in. Okay. Wander around, go to the cafeteria, sit under a tree. He was a super cool dude. Like, I don't think he's with us anymore. He had cancer even back then. I know he lived many, many years after that because I got to see him at a school reunion and have a nice chat with him. But he was just a cool dude. Like you have to understand by that point, I was wrestling, with Al Snow and Mickey Doyle and all these guys around Michigan, Ohio. So it wasn't much Ontario stuff. So a lot of times I would miss Fridays. Like once football season was over my senior year, I tried to get booked every Friday. So I would miss Fridays. And sometimes getting home late, I wouldn't show up Mondays. At least in the morning, because I had an 8:30 class. So that basically one of the vice principals was like, he misses too much time. He's not going to be able to graduate. Mr. Huckle went there and he said, look, I love Scott. He's a joy to have in my class when he wants to be there. And when he doesn't want to be there, he is the most obnoxious, ignorant, overbearing, distracting. He ruins it for everybody. He goes, so let's just say this. He has a 90 degree, because I had 2 classes with me. He has a 90 degree average between my 2 classes. I don't care if he's in that space or not. Like just leave him alone. So he got it so I could travel and wrestle, which is super cool. But even still, like I'm missing an exam. So I go to see him and I wait, Mr. Huckle, I need to. He's like, yes, what's up? And I go, and I told him about it. He goes, well, that's not a problem. That's amazing. He goes, that's amazing. Wow. That's wonderful. He goes, why? This will be on TV. I go, yeah, I'll let you know. He goes, that's wonderful. He goes, what's the problem? I go, well, it's the same day as our exam. He goes, I don't see why that's a problem. And
Get out.
And I was just like, well, I mean, like we could arrange it. Like I'll write it before I go. He goes, no, nonsense. He goes, you're not ruining this experience because you need to embrace and enjoy and experience. And I'm kind of like, okay, he goes, come find me after you get back, settled in, take some time, study. He goes, he doesn't just tell me when you want to write it. He goes, you have to write it, within a few weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'll call you as soon as you get back. Because yeah, he goes, and Scott, I'm going to give you the exact same exam as all of your classmates. So if you per se talk to your classmates, they would be able to tell you all the questions and you would be able to just have the answers ready. He goes,
wow.
I know you'd never. And I walked out of there and went, okay, like now I think he's screwing with me. Like, is he really going to give me the exact test? So
wow, the support. So that's
he was awesome. And that was my biggest concern. Like going there, it's like I just couldn't believe it. Like I'm going to wrestle. You get there, there's a WWF ring, and like, holy shit, like there's Vince McMahon, and there's Fuji, and you're just sitting there, just standing there, trying not to react to anything. But inside, your brain's just bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'm in an elevator, and Bret Hart gets in, and I'm like, holy fuck, like that's Bret Hart. But I'm just standing there, and he looks at me, and he looks at my jacket, has a Canadian flag on it. He goes, "You from Canada?" I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "What part?" And I kind of look at my jacket and I point to where it says Windsor, Ontario. I go, "Windsor, Ontario." He goes, right. And he goes, "Cool." And he goes to get into the elevator. He's like, "Have a good day." And he stops and he turns around. Just I just talked to Bret the other night. He's a good dude. He has no right. Like this, like I'm nothing to him, right? All he knows is he's in an elevator. This guy's Canadian. He goes to walk out. He's the world fucking champion. He stops. He turns around and he goes, "If you have any problems or anything, like come find me."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much, sir." And then the elevator door closes.
And then you jump.
It goes to the store. And then I get out of the elevator and I go and run and I grab Bobby Clance and notice him. I go, "Holy fucking, I don't know what just happened. I just got to Bret Hart. He just wished me good luck, said he welcomed me here, and he said if I need anything, I just need to go find him." And they're looking at me like, "What?" I mean, I'm 18. I'm too dumb. Like as Sheldon would say, I don't know what I don't know. And there was probably like there had to be, I don't know if it was 12 or 14. Like it was huge. Like the place had thousands. Like I'd never wrestled in front of I think more than 700 people. And now you're in front of thousands. Like it was I think it was over 10,000 for sure. But maybe it was 5,000, and my 18-year-old brain remembers that it's a million. But I just remember standing in the ring, and me and Otis were standing there, and we're like, "Which way do we have to face?" And he goes, "I don't know." So we're sitting there, and you can find this on YouTube. It's a match with me and Otis Apollo against the Steiners. We actually, when they introduced us, we turn our backs to the camera.
Oh shit!
Because we're so dumb now. Anyone who did that now, I'd go, "How stupid are you? Mike McGurk is facing that way, you clods. Where the hell do you think they can?" But we didn't know. We were panicking.
Oh, no. Okay, so you're 18, right?
Yep.
Okay, so 18 when you started doing matches for WWF. And then how old were you for WCW?
It was 2 weeks later, so I was still 18.
Dang. Okay, and then what did you do in between then? Did you just did like a bunch of matches for WWF?
Oh, I did the one match there for WWF. Mm-hmm. They paid us for 2 days. I still don't know why. Because we were booked for 2. They didn't need us the second day. They just gave us our money and sent us home. Maybe we're the shits, but they booked us again, so it couldn't have been, hopefully. But then I went to WCW and, did 3 days there. And then it kind of turned out that in WCW, I could do a few days every month. If I was, it's basically like, hey, if you're willing to drive, because they thought driving from Canada, like in their brains, was like as if I was driving from fucking Alaska.
Yeah.
So I was just like, no, like it's like 11, 12 hours. And they're like, no way, it's 10 hours from Tampa. And I go, I don't know what to tell you. It's 11 hours, if we're diligent on our stops and everything and catch the right traffic. So like, well, if you want to come, wrestle those few days, and at the end of the thing, it's like, if you guys want to, you guys want to keep coming down, and they basically, David Penzer, I hate to say it, was my first hookup there, and he'll never let that die.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and his thing basically was because they didn't want the same people on TV all the time, so his thing was, I'll book you, and then you rotate through guys with you, like bring these guys for a couple times, then sit them at home, bring some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I did starting in June of 2003.
Crazy. Okay. So then did you travel a lot? Like, did you travel outside the States and all that?
Yeah, at first, let me get this straight. So I went to Germany in 95, which was great. So at that point, I would have been 20 or 21. I think trying to get the timing. I think I just turned 21. And I was in Germany. And in Germany back then, they did tournaments, and you wrestle in the same building for X amount of weeks every night, and they keep score and their standings. It's like a sport. So that was a super cool experience. But that was the fall. I want to say it was like 6 weeks, I think, in the fall of 95. So I did that. And then in 96, I had a snafu at the US border. So I couldn't go to the US. So 96, I ended up luckily, I got through Geza Coleman and Dan Severn. I got booked to go to Japan, which was awesome.
Oh.
So I did my first tour of Japan, and I think I was 21 still.
Holy.
Yeah, it was so great. And then, because back then it was still Japan. Like we were on the front page of the sports and stuff. Like it was cool. And then that fall, I went and did a couple of months in the UK because I knew there wasn't an indie scene around Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
So there just wasn't a lot going on. You had Parisi, who wasn't yet my fake Uncle Tony, so I wasn't booked on the chin yet. And although I think that actually might be the first year I got the chin. Now that I think about it, 96. So that's when he became my fake uncle. But there wasn't enough work, so I knew I had to go work somewhere. So I was able to get to the UK, and there I was doing 10 shows a week. So basically, we would do 2 shows a day, Monday through Friday, and we'd have Saturday and Sunday off. So, which is a pretty cool schedule because having 2 days off for the weekend is kind of nice. It gives you a chance to decompress and, relax and everything and do laundry. And then doing 2 shows a day, it's like you're constantly moving. And the shows are close, right? They're close by. It sucks because you're traveling in a van, you and the other guys and the ring. But it's a great experience. Like I was a little egotistical. Like I remember, like over there, you travel with the ring. The wrestlers, they're called holiday camps. Like think of, for anyone who doesn't know what they are, like Butlins and Pontins camps. Think of the movie Dirty Dancing, where the families go away on vacation and they stay there and like these chalets and there's all these events and everything. That's what these camps are.
Oh, okay.
Old school British vacation style camps. That's where families go. They might go for a week, they might go for a month, they might go for the summer. But that's what we're doing. But you set up the ring. Well, I was like, I shouldn't be setting up the ring. Like, so I had a bit of an attitude, which I know is hard to believe. And so sometimes I got shitty about it. I was like, fuck it, these guys can stuff. I'm not going to do it. And I remember, because on the off days, I had a friend, Danny Royal, who I'd met in Germany. He was in the same tournament that I was in Hamburg the year before. So I kind of got to know him. He was younger. Like, I think if I was 21 or 22, he was probably 18, 19. So he still lived at home. So on the off days, I got to go down to like one of the islands in the south. I can't remember if it was Isle of Sheppey or Isle of Wight. And like, we'd be at his parents' place. And I had my own bedroom, and they had satellite TV. And his mom wanted to do nothing but cook for us and do my laundry. And Danny was at that age where he's like, Mom, we don't need you to do our laundry or cook. And I'm like, shut up, Danny. like, I want my fucking laundry done. And if you fuck up Yorkshire pudding for tomorrow night, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Like, this is awesome. And then his dad was a cop, and I was like, he's like, you know any British TV? I go, yeah. I go, like, I grew up like, when is Benny Hill still on? He's like, oh, not in years. And I go, oh, because that was one of my favorite shows. And like, his dad runs because he had like the whole Benny Hill collection on like PAL cassette. So I had all Benny Hill. I had HBO. I had a mother who wanted to cook and do my laundry. I don't even know if I want to go back on the road. Like, Danny, you're an idiot. Don't ever leave here. So we did that. But anyway, so I was getting shitty about the ring. So I'm at Danny's house. I'm in my room. And Danny's mother comes and goes, Scott, like, we've got a phone call. I'm like, who would even know how to get a hold of me here? So I answer the phone. It's Steve Regal, like William Regal.
Oh.
I knew him a little bit from WCW.
Okay.
I had reached out to him when I was first going over there, and I didn't get a hold of him. He had, because it's wrestling and it's small, he had heard I had a shitty attitude and I wasn't setting up the ring. And he was back home. I don't know if he was visiting family or whatever. And he did some of the holiday camps for Dixon, for a different promoter, the famous Brian Dixon. And Regal basically called me up and chastised me. So I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but I just finished tearing down the ring from our camp. And if you're too good for this, then you get your fat little Canadian ass on a plane. You go the fuck home. And I was kind of like, yes, sir. And I hung up the phone, and one, I was petrified. And two, I was just like, holy fuck, like Steve Regal sets up the ring. So, I mean, it was kind of perspective, right? Because I had been spoiled because I started, like, I wrestled on a show the night before my prom, and then I missed a senior, I wrestled around, and I'm wrestling all over the place. I don't have to go to school because I get to go do shows, and my pot smoking, teacher doesn't care if I show up as long as my work gets done at some point, not even necessarily on time. And then I wrestle for WWF, which is cool. And then I go to WCW. Now, you couldn't wrestle for both because WWF wouldn't use you if you're wrestling for WCW. Yeah. But I'm getting booked regular. I'm hanging out at the hotel. I'm drinking with Davey Boy and all this. This is life. And then now it's like almost like reality. I can't get into the US at this point. And it's like I need to go here, and I'm going here to learn to wrestle. I have a shitty attitude, and then here's a guy who is a star on TV who calls me up and cusses me out and says, if that's your attitude, then fuck off. And I think he actually told me to fuck off. He basically said, change your attitude or fuck off. And it's like, okay. And you're kind of like, that's different than the baseball scout, who was a little nicer about it. But again, it was a shitty interaction at the time.
Yeah.
But it's something I needed to learn. I needed to learn that nobody gave a shit about me.
Is that when you went to Danny's mom and said, you know what? I will do my laundry. I will cook. I will do all this.
Absolutely not. Regal said I needed to set up the ring. He didn't say that I needed to cook for myself. And Sunday, oh man, I love. And it's so funny, right? The juxtaposition. Danny, who was a good dude, but was like at that point, like, I'm an adult. I don't want this. I'm like, I had done just enough adulting. I was totally fine with it.
Did you ever find out how he got a hold of you?
Regal?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I honestly, I don't know if I left his number. I don't know if he's just like, I was talking to Dixon. I don't know. The only thing I remember is answering that phone. And I was like, oh, hey, how are you? And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, me and Steve Regal are friends. And then he just blasts.
Rips into you.
Oh, up one side and down the other. Like, I honestly think I stood up. I think he was yelling at me so bad I actually like stood up almost like a bird, like I had attention. Like, oh fuck. So yeah.
So then you've been to Germany, you've been to UK, you've been to Japan. Do you have a best memory out of all of those places?
Oh man. No, I don't. I mean, I think it's just I don't know if life is one memory, and I don't want to sound like a dweeb or too philosophical, but I don't. Like I remember walking around Tokyo, me and Geza Coleman, who's a super good dude, who's like a very good friend, and we're just like we're stars, like I've never been a star in my life. Like these are people wanting pictures with us and everything. I was like, this is cool. I remember doing the Great American Bash in 1995, which was like June of 95. It was in Dayton, Ohio. I was wrestling on the Saturday in Chillicothe, which is a tiny little town. And I got a call from Jody Hamilton, who worked in the office for WCW, and he asked me if I would be able to get to Dayton the next day. Now, Dayton to Chillicothe is maybe an hour. And Jody's like, whatever it takes, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'll give you triple trans, like, whatever, just get there. I'm kind of like, yeah, I think I can make it. So I go there, I do the pay-per-view, I'm on the pre-show. But I walk outside of the Hara Arena, which is like, just got torn down a couple years ago. But I'm feeling pretty good. Like I just wrestled in front of, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 people. The main events, Flair and Macho Man in a cage.
Wow.
It's cool, right? Like it's a pay-per-view. Like I'm booked on a fucking pay-per-view. Like, this is pretty sweet. And then I walk out of the Hara Arena, I'm feeling really good. And as I open those doors, in my brain, there was 5 million people back.
There's what?
There's like 5 million people is what it feels like to me. Because I've never walked out the back of an arena door and just seen fans. And I'm like, and there's people like shoving stuff in my face to sign and everything. And I will say this as classily as I can. That is the night when I signed my first boob.
I knew it.
Yeah. And since this woman was like, can I have your autograph? And she's got a Sharpie. I go, absolutely. I go, what do you want me to sign? And she's like, this. And I turned. Rhino was with me because he was booked in Chillicothe as well. And I looked at him. I was like, yeah, we made good life choices. And I was just like, this is life. So that, I mean, it's stuff like that. I don't know. Like so many of my memories aren't actually in the ring. Some of them are fun in the ring, but so much of it is just it's traveling and it's being with the boys. It's being in the lounge in Paris or whatever for 7 hours and just dreading it. But the next thing you know, there's 15 of you there sitting there and you're just having a blast. It's performing at the Tokyo Dome, which was only a handful of years ago, but I never thought I was long past the point of thinking I was ever going to get that opportunity. And I got to do that. Wrestling at Sumo Arena was a huge thing for me, right? Because so many amazing matches at Sumo Arena in Japan over the years. And the fact that I got to wrestle there on a big show for All Japan, which is a company I watched when I was young. Mm-hmm. And it was myself and Kiyoshi, Akira Raijin, Sushi, whatever name to go by. He was my first Japanese student. It was me, Kiyoshi, and Joe Dorn. And the idea was it's the coach, his top native, like Japanese student, and his top gaijin, like American student.
Yeah.
In a 6-man tag. And it's just going out there and it's just that. Like, I just remember like looking around in the Sumo Arena, and I honestly remember thinking I'm never going to wrestle again because this is the absolute pinnacle of my career. Like there's no topping this. And then I ended up wrestling. But it was a good moment. But there's so many of them. Like even you, like, right? I'm sure he's like, could you pick, is there one moment where you're like, this is my moment?
Yeah, no, there's a lot. Yeah, I can't.
I hope my best moments, a bunch of them are still to come, like there's like, here's like, we had one of the worst shows, probably the worst show of the Anthem era ever. And Josh would know where it was. It was in a mall. It was a disaster. was on a set. Like, it's just everything about it sucked. It sucked. We had a nice show the night before, and everybody was in good spirits. We had to get this show out. It was for Twitch. We had to all just get home, and there was a snowstorm coming, and it was a disaster. Like, the show sucked.
Oh, I
Everyone was
remember.
depressed. Yeah. And then me, Josh, and Ethan ended up renting a car and driving from wherever we were in New Jersey or whatever, or Pennsylvania, whatever it was, you know, up into, you know,
it was,
Toronto.
yeah.
And just like that, like that was a fun trip. You know, I look at some of those road trips, and that's a lot of it, right? Is just driving and BSing, and nobody does this anymore. But if you weren't driving, you might have a drink back in the day. But just that, you know, that's ultimately what the business in a lot of ways is, right? Is that connection? Like, we're not, in general, we're not a family. It's all that stuff. Like, at the end of the day, we're a business, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy and appreciate the people and the time in it. So it's a big part of it. And then, a lot of my moments are watching people that I got to be part of their career, right? And being like, fuck, like watching Kushida in front of 40,000 people as they're going crazy and chanting his name. And I remember this little weird looking bald headed kid who, you know, who came here. Like, he lived in Windsor for 3 years. And I just watched him grow as not just a wrestler, but as a human being. And, you know, then I remember I was in Tokyo, and whenever I would me and him would always get together, go out for dinner. So he's like, Scott, son, I meet you at Tokyo Dome Hotel. So I was like, hey, Kush, are we going to take the subway? He goes, no. He goes, I have car. And we walk outside, and he takes his arms almost like ta-da, and he goes, look, my new car. And it's a really nice, it's like a Japanese version of an SUV, so it's small, but it's a nice car. And it's big by Japanese standards. And I go, wow, this is your ride? This is a sweet ride, Kush. And he just looks at me, he puts his hands on his hip, and he goes, yes, I am rich and famous. And I'm like, instantly he turned into like that 21-year-old kid.
He's proud, and he has it to show his, you know, accomplishments. Aw. Right.
Yeah. And it's, you know, that stuff is a big part of it for me. Is, you know, look, I didn't have a Hall of Fame career. I didn't, you know, like I'm totally fine with my career. It took me around the world. You know, I've been through most of Europe. I've been to Japan. I've been to India. You know, I've been to Mexico. I mean, there's been so many places that just people just don't get to see. I've been to the Arctic Circle, you know, for wrestling. Like, it's just like all these things that you get to see and experience that normal people just don't ever get. And they just sometimes have to stop and go, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, I always say that one of my jokes is always like, how's business? Well, doing okay, you know, better than digging ditches. And I know it is, because I fucking dug ditches. Like, it's not fun. Like, it's a good job. You know, I was on a union crew. It was not what I wanted to do with my life. You know, if somebody can work that job, God bless them, because they'll make a good living, they'll support their family, and they'll have it. But I was like, this isn't what I want. Working construction taught me I will never be happy with a conventional job. You know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be wrestling. I left wrestling in whatever it was, 09 or 10. And I didn't look back at it really in any real way until 17, really, on any major level. But I still didn't have a conventional. Like, I have to be on the hustle.
Yep.
You know, and that's what I love about wrestling, is it's the hustle.
100%. Now, I hear one of your biggest accomplishments in wrestling was wrestling your hero, Dusty Rhodes. Is that true?
Yeah, like, wrestling Dusty was cool. Because he's Dusty Rhodes. And as I've said, you know, I think many times in the past, as fat little kid that I was, I could look at Hulk Hogan and I could think he was cool. But even in my distorted, delusional brain, there was even I couldn't convince myself that I was going to be Hulk Hogan. One of Dusty's things that made him so amazing he was the common man. He was everybody could look at Dusty and be like, see something of themselves in him, and he was so good, and having that. And I mean, wrestling him was cool. But I remember the first time that I ever really got to hang out with Dusty. We were doing an indie in somewhere, Pittsburgh, somewhere in Pennsylvania. Me and D'Lo and Dusty's there. So Dusty basically like, hey, boy, do you mind if I ride with you? So like, yeah, sure. We're like, fucking Dusty Rhodes wants to ride. And then we're both been in the business. Like, D'Lo's already had his run in WWF and everything. And we still, everybody marks out because he's Dusty Rhodes. So we hang out with him. We drive to the show. We hang out at the show together. There's a little after party. We eat at the after party together. We drive back to the hotel, which is, probably an hour or two away. We get to the hotel, and Dusty's like, basically, I just want to thank you, guys. It was a fun time, And he's like, give me your number. Let's keep in touch. And me and D'Lo are kind of like, yeah, okay. Like, we're giving him his, like, yeah, whatever. Right? Like, it's kind of like the polite, see you later. I remember the next day, I'm home. I'm in the shower. I hear my phone ring. I don't answer it. So when I get out, towel off, I see it's a 404. And I listen to the message. And it's Dusty Rhodes. And I'm like I have a voice message. It's like, Scotty, hey, baby, it's American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Just wanted to call you and say thank you for the weekend, baby. I had so much fun and be going up and down the road with you and D'Lo, reminding me of why this business is just so cool. And reminded me of my days with like Dickie Murdoch and all the and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm fucking like my heart is pounding, right? And remember, I'm in TNA at this. This is like probably like 07. Maybe, I don't know. No, it couldn't have been then. Probably 03 or 04.
Yeah.
Around
it was
there.
before he was there, right? Before he came.
He was there, like, but I never really talked to him other than then we got to hang out, and then I'm listening to Dusty's message. I'm like, oh my God, I got to call D'Lo. And D'Lo, like, on cue calls. And I answer the phone. I go, D'Lo, guess what? He goes, I don't give a fuck what you got to say. Dusty Rhodes just called me. I'm like, me too. And then that's when, like, that would have been the Sunday. The Wednesday, which because we did the Wednesday night pay-per-views then. Wednesday, because Dusty would do his segment, and then he lived in Atlanta, so he never stayed overnight. He did his segment, and then he went home. It's about a 3.5-hour drive. So he's rolling out the back door there, and I'm like, all right, Dusty, thanks. See you next week. He just comes over, and he just kind of like, he just grabs my arm, and he goes, me and you are going to do a little business. I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, there's Dusty Rhodes. Like, I can't. So then I go to like our little booking office, Jeff's office, and Jeff goes, well, I guess you get what you want. I'm like, what? He goes, well, fucking Dusty said he wants to do a program with you. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm thinking like, yeah, that's cool. I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'll think of, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll think about doing it. So, and then it was cool. And then and he wanted to take his time too, because right, we used to rush things so much in TNA, Total Nonstop Action. Mm-hmm. I think they originally told Dusty, hey, we'll set it up and you guys have a match in 2 weeks. And Dusty's like, we're going to take at least 2 months. And it's almost like, oh, we don't really do that here. And Dusty, and I wasn't in the room, but supposedly Dusty goes, that's cool. Like, if you don't like the way I want to do it, I can stay home. And they're like, well, I guess we'll do it Dusty's way. And we got to do promos back and forth. And the match was cool, right? Because the rest of Dusty was cool. But really cool is standing in a ring with the American Dream with microphones and just promoing each other. And you're almost like, I'm in the fucking ring with Dusty Rhodes. Like, this is, anyone who says they don't mark out, well, then good for them. Because that, to me, is fucking cool. Just like I was a guest in Piper's Pit, and growing up as a kid and fucking watching Piper all those years, and then standing in the middle of the ring in front of a few thousand, there was like 3,000 or 4,000 people, and going back and forth with Piper. And instantly, when the crowd's there, Piper's there. And he goes from totally scattered to just zoned in. And I just remember standing, we're 6 inches apart from each other, and a battery whizzes right in between our heads. And he doesn't even fucking blink. And I'm like, okay, this is a badass dude. So that's those are moments. I guess there's a couple of moments right there. So you pulled them out of me.
Wow. I didn't know that about Piper's Pit. Holy
Yeah, it was
cow.
great. And I think one of the guys who might have hit the ring that night to take the bumps for me, because I didn't want to take the bumps, was Ashley Six.
Was who?
I think it was Ashley Six. Was one of the
really?
the guys who had run in to take bumps for me because I didn't want to have to take all the bumps for Piper.
Dang, nice.
Yeah. So.
Okay, let's take a break and play a little game called This or That.
Okay.
Pretty simple. I will name two things and you choose this or that. Okay, first one is bacon or sausage?
Sausage.
Okay, we just talked about this, but attending baseball games or basketball games?
No, I stick with baseball.
Stick with baseball. Okay, so I forgot to mention this. I had zero idea that you were involved with baseball, that you played baseball, let alone friggin' were that serious with baseball in high school. And I just thought it was, well, for me, it was just a good time to like sit, hang out, chat, drink. But like my heart's with basketball. And basketball, I had so much fun. I think because also the fans are, crazier and louder and just a lot more into it. But anyway.
And you were so stoked when we went to the ACC. And I'll never forget going to that Kobe Bryant game, which you remember? Because we went to that Kobe Bryant game together, right?
I don't remember.
It was a Lakers. It's when Kobe was doing his retirement tour. I know because the guy, my ticket book up. I just requested the tickets for when I was in town. Mm-hmm. He got them for me, and I remember going like, "Dude, like these things are going on StubHub for like $1,500. Like take these things back and sell them."
Oh, really?
He's like, nope, got him for it. And yeah, the 4 horse people, the 4 lunatics ended up going. But you were so excited just going to basketball. And basketball is more fun. I think basketball in a lot of ways is more fun. But to me, baseball is so cool. And I grew up in Tiger Stadium, even though I'm a Jays fan. I grew up in Tiger Stadium. I love Comerica Park. Me and Rhino learned shortly after Comerica Park opened because they have the center field is open and you can just stand out there. And there's there's a railing in that. You get right up against the rail. But people show up early to get there. Me and Rhino kind of learned that if we just stand closely behind people, they keep moving until real quick we're at the front of the railing. And then we just sit out there. And me and Rhino and A.T. Huck and Gary Warrenchuk, who's a politician, used to be a wrestling promoter, we would get together, go to afternoon baseball on like a Tuesday. Don't screw up your weekend. Don't go on a Saturday or Sunday, in my opinion. If you can go to baseball on like a Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon and just be out in the sun with some friends, have some laughs, chill. Have a couple drinks. Don't have a couple drinks. Just laugh. And like there's very few cooler, more chill things to do. So that baseball, chill, holler and scream, basketball. And I went to some Raptors playoffs. So at some point when the world reopens, I'll get us some tickets and we'll have a reunion and we'll all go rock out at some Raptors games.
Yes, please. Okay, the third one, truth or dare.
Oh, I have to pick one?
Yes.
Oh, I never played this game. Dare?
Wow, you would choose dare?
Yeah, sure. I've done just about everything in life. I don't know. Tell me to choose truth. I'll do that too. I'll do both.
Don't worry. I'm gonna.
I'll dare to be truthful.
It was just a question. Don't worry. I was hoping you'd get nervous, but that clearly did not work at all.
Yeah,
I do know you better.
It takes a lot to rattle. So, although if Ed Nordholm or Len Aspirin listen to this call, that might rattle me if they call me and say, I don't know if this is how an EVP is supposed to handle a media interview.
Hard or soft shell tacos?
Soft.
That's my man right there. I'm a soft shell taco person too. Okay, and the last question, liquid soap or bar soap?
For what?
What do you mean soap
Yeah.
for what?
Well, I mean, I like liquid hand soap. You know, I like to have the gimmick pump there next to the thing, but I'm still kind of an old fashioned like bar soap kind of guy. Unless I'm in one of the hotels that has the body wash and the soap, then I use that. So this and that. How about that?
So you, oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
different. So I'm a liquid soap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, you just think, okay, for bar soaps for washing hands, no, not into that because
Mm-hmm.
you put it down and then you see the dirt on it.
Right.
That's just me. But then you brought up hotel bar soap, and they actually have really good bar soap. I mean, depends what hotel you go to. Obviously, the nicer ones, but they have like ones that are they have the little scrubs in them.
Mm-hmm.
Are you bored? Have you not been graced with these scrub bar soaps?
Wait,
It's like a little massage or like a little refresher.
they also use like really quality like shampoo and conditioner in those hotels too. You
Yes.
know, like they have quality shit. Like I think staying in a hotel ups my soap and shampoo because the amount of time I get there and I go, shit, I didn't bring any, and I just go to the front desk. And like they know me. Like the hotel I've been staying at for the last 15 months. Basically, walk up there and they know I want soap, I want shampoo, I want a razor, I want some more towels, and then give me my damn bottles.
They give you razors?
Oh yeah, just about every hotel will have a shaving kit, and it'll have like a little thing of shaving cream and a razor. Now it's a crappy razor, like you ain't got no Mach 3,
It's just
but
like a little Bic.
they'll give you like the blue Bic and a little thing of shaving cream. And
Oh
if
wow.
you're in a jam, hey, that can be a life changer. And then there's always the dilemma because they have the little market next to the front desk where they have like the nice thing of foam shaving
Yes.
cream, and sometimes you can buy a decent razor, but you're like, that's gonna be about $15, or I can just like make it through with the Bic and the crappy little thing of like crappy. It's actually probably not crappy. What's it called? Shaving lotion. The key is tell them you need 3 of them because you'll need 3 of the containers of shaving gel to be able to shave your face from.
There you go, guys. If you ever wondered, Scott's favorite soaps, there you go. He prefers both liquid and bar soap.
All right. I like to have my cake and eat it too.
There you go. Okay, let's jump to another game called Rapid Fire. I am going to name a simple move. Name the first person that pops up.
Okay.
First one is drop kick.
Jim Brunzel.
Super kick.
Shawn Michaels.
Choke slam.
God, I wish I had a better answer than that. Choke slam, the Giant, because I felt like I was like in the 3rd level of this arena.
Nice. DDT.
Jake the Snake.
German suplex.
Josh Alexander.
Oh.
Boom.
Moonsault.
Scott D'Amore. No, it's great. It's a great.
Well, I was going to say that. I was going to say that actually.
Yeah, no, it's the fucking great mood is moonsault. It's like just mind blowing when I was a kid. Like it's the reason I wanted to do a moonsault. You know, because you thought it was you thought it was magic when you did it.
Mm. Last one, power bomb.
Sid Vicious.
Nice. Okay, I wanted to bring up Border City Wrestling again. It surprises me just of your whole timeline of your age with wrestling and all that. How old were you when you had Border City? How did you just get involved with it? What made you think, I'm just going to start my own business right here in Windsor?
What's they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. And it was really simple. I started training to wrestle when I was 16 years old. I was able to have my first few matches, and then there was no place to wrestle. So we basically had a ring here, my trainer's ring. He let us set it up because he didn't live in town anymore. And started trying to think like, how are we going to get booked, right? So one of the things was like we needed to meet people, we needed to network. So I knew a guy by the name of Chuck Fader, he was a guy, I knew him because he sold sports cards, and I loved sports cards.
Mm.
So I knew him from that. I knew him actually first because when I was a teenager, we used to go play strikeout for sometimes like days on end at a little grade school not far from my house. And his shoot job was he was the janitor. So he would sit outside and chain smoke and watch me and my two buddies play strikeout, which if no one's ever played it, it's like you got a batter, you've got a hitter, and you've got a fielder. And you're basically at bat until they get you out.
Mm-hmm.
And we would play that for hours and talk sports and cards with Chuck. I ended up going to some of the shows he would do and that. So but it turns out he was a huge wrestling fan. He came to the first wrestling show that I ever did, when I was like in 12th grade. And then he basically was a huge wrestling fan. It turns out he had promoted like punk rock concerts and stuff in like the 70s. So like just around the scene here. So he was an old school hustler, like posters on phone, telephone poles and stuff.
Yeah.
So I talked to him, I kind of like, well, I mean, I can't run the shows because I'm 18 years old. Nobody will listen to me. But I've got my trainer who knows some people and he has a little bit of respect. I got Chuck who knows how to promote because I don't have to do any of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like brought the two of them together, and the three of us, on a Saturday night at sometime well past midnight at this little skeefy donut shop, snacking good donuts is what it was called. I don't think that those little independent donut shops exist anymore. They're all Tim Hortons.
Mm-hmm.
But we basically came up with, we were going to run some shows, and it was right there at that counter. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we sketched out a logo on napkins, and we're going to put a bridge on it. And that's how we came up with border. Because right at the border, we were looking at the Ambassador Bridge while we were doing it. So, and it was Border City Championship Wrestling, BCCW. And then just with a little bit of time, we realized, wow, that's really one too many C's.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and we just used some of the and met Mickey Doyle and Denny Cass, who was like a Michigan guy, and Al Snow, who nobody knew who he was yet then, but he was an up and coming guy, and we just I worked for the town of LaSalle in Parks and Rec, so one of the things we were in charge of was the arena. So I went to my boss, who was a super good dude, and said, "Hey, like, would we be able to have wrestling here?" And he thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So basically what he did is, you go and you rent an arena and whatever else. In the LaSalle Arena, as we found out when we had the fucking Rock there, as I like to brag everywhere, you can put 1,000 people. So you got a venue that can hold 1,000 people. And I think that's the only time we put 1,000, but we put a few hundred people in there. But that venue, he used to be like, oh, how long? I said, we don't have a lot of money. And my old boss, Danny, goes, well, how long is the show going to take? And I go, the actual show? I go, it'll be like 2.5, 3 hours. He goes, well, we usually rent it for ball hockey for $25 an hour. You think you can afford $75? I'm like, I think we can. So he would give us this big arena and everything. And then we would run the shows on Saturday, but my whole Friday, I would be getting paid from the town of LaSalle. They're going to chase me down to want money back. And we would be in there setting up the ring and the chairs and everything else and getting ready for the show the next day. So I would basically get the arena for 2 days for $75.
Oh my gosh.
That was my contribution to Border City Wrestling. Was I had a venue that we could get that was a pretty good venue, and could put a few hundred people in there easily, and had a cool boss. So his attitude was, well, the girls that work the snack bar don't usually get any hours in the summer, so at least they'll come in and they'll make a few bucks and get some tips.
Oh, that's nice.
And then after we did it a couple of times, he goes, man, can we do this every week? He'd be like, we just did like $800 in concessions. We don't do that in an entire day. We just did that in 4 hours.
Wow.
So it was cool. And that's how we started. We ran out of there for a few years until we kind of ventured out into some other places. So.
Mm-hmm. And then are you planning to bring BCW back to more regular shows? Like when everything opens up and and all that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess you should ask drum boy Jeffrey Scott, because as he said on your podcast, he does all the work and everything, and I just get all the credit. So I guess really that's a question for the real boss.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I don't think me and you have talked. I talked to Jeff for like 2 hours after that, because I listened to your guys' podcast and I was laughing. It was like 4 a.m. and I was like laughing and like out loud. Like people probably thought I was a lunatic in my hotel room. And then I messaged him and I was like, man, you got some of these facts so wrong, because Drum Boy has an amazing memory, but then some of the things it's like he wasn't even there for.
What?
Which is, yeah, like some of the stuff he thought was like, well, you had nothing to do with that. But he does often, and I concede this. There's a lot of times where I'll be like, I remember one time me and Swinger were somewhere, Johnny Swinger somewhere, and I go, I can't remember. And Swinger goes, call Drum Boy. And I go, he wasn't even there. And Swinger goes, he'll still fucking know. So we dialed him. I think we were in England. I know we weren't in the country. And we called Drum Boy and we're like, hey, what was the story with this? And he's like, okay, so what happened? And he told a story perfectly of something from mine and Swinger's life that he wasn't even there for. Me and Swinger were like afterwards, I go, I think that sounds right. So he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's right. But I had a blast. But then I hit up Jeff, and then he thought he thought that I was pissed off at him. I go, I was dying laughing. And then we had like a 2-hour conversation one day, just as I was killing time at a hotel on a Saturday, like on a stayover, and just like I'm just walking around the hotel like a lunatic, laughing. And any conversation with Drum Boy usually involves laughing, but it's just laughing and like trying to piece together all these things over the years. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I always say like, Border City Wrestling won't die. Like I've sold it 3 times. It keeps coming back to me.
Yeah.
We've shut down, stopped running. And every time you think that you've moved on, it's, for some reason it springs back to life. And, like, I don't know. I mean, I hope it never fully goes away.
Well, just because the St. Clair College shows were just like the crowd there is amazing. I love the entire venue. It's so nice. And so it'd be nice too, because you were doing a lot of, the split shows with Impact and stuff. And even just continuing that, like whenever you guys, start to the live shows again.
Well, to me, like it's one of the things I'm proudest about both, with my, and I don't want to use the term legacy, but like some of the things that I've contributed to wrestling is helping other people get where they should be and hopefully will be. Mm-hmm. And I think like Border City Wrestling has been a huge part of that. And there's so many guys and girls, men and women, I should say, that have came through Border City Wrestling. And then it came back to me later and said, that's the first place where I was told the camera's here. That's the first place where I was told you have to do this. That was the first place where I had to do a pre-tape. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the whole genesis for starting the shows at St. Clair. Like, look, we had a run at one point, and Drum Boy would know better than me, but I bet you, I'm going to say it was around 2000, somewhere in there, 99, 2000, 2001. I bet you we ran 40 shows when you put it all together, between like the little fairs on the street and the colleges we used to do around Ontario and all the different stuff and the shows. I don't know if I have no interest really going out and doing that. If Drum Boy or somebody else want to take it out and do that, like I always support it. But to me, what the last handful of years of Border City Wrestling was, and it was in conjunction with the college. It wasn't just teaching the wrestling people; it was also teaching students at the college. Mm-hmm. And it was hands-on experience that people could have, both wrestling-wise and entertainment technologies-wise, working on or in a production. So that was my thing. Like running those shows, it was important to me that we had a lighting truss. It was important to me that we had staging, a screen, mm-hmm. like these type of things. It was important that we did pre-tapes. It would have been super easy to run the show and not film it. But, it was important to film it and air it, one, for the students, because they get to see their work air.
Yeah.
The students from the college, but also for, the people involved in wrestling, and not just not just the wrestlers and the performers, but if you look at it like Ingrid, Ingrid, bless her bones, wanted to be a wrestler. Physically, it was not there for Ingrid. Ingrid became a floor director for us at Border City Wrestling. She has now, for the last 2 years, been the floor director for Impact Wrestling. Johnny Bravo, has a very hands-on role behind the scenes that he learned in Border City Wrestling. And there's so many of these things, in front and behind of the camera that people need that experience. And you've done it, even if you're going to like fucking awesome indie shows, at the end of the day, the structure of them is lacking for preparing you for television wrestling. They're awesome. In some ways, they're way better. They're way cooler, but they're not preparing. If your goal is to be a TV wrestler, you need to practice and get reps doing TV style wrestling and everything around it. And to me, it's no different than if you're a football player. If you're going to go and play in a wide open 4 wide receiver set, run and gun offense, well, then you can't practice running the ball between the tackles all the time. You have to practice what you're going to do in the game. So if you're preparing to be a TV wrestler, which is what most people, not all, most people that get into this industry want to do, there's very few places for you to get reps before you get there. It's the whole genesis for why there's a performance center for WWE now, right? So that they can do all that. Right. Well, on a much smaller scale, Border City Wrestling gives people a taste of what that's like. And part of it, I know it's annoying. Like, I want the talent to show up at 2:00 because that's what we do in wrestling. And then part of that is a sit around and wait. But there's also, you've got some time in the ring. You get to go through stuff. You have an agent who's responsible for your match. Like, you're not just sitting with your opponent putting together. There's somebody else who's saying, no, this is what the office wants. This is, what they want, what we want. Putting that together. And the other thing is to knowing, and that's where it gets good when you got guys like Petey and these guys now who are the P Williams that have developed and are now doing it on a national level. You got to start thinking about not just the moves you're doing, but where the camera should be, where you should be in relation to the cameras. And that's a big part of what we try to do there. And some of the people, it's like you're trying to teach them advanced algebra and they're just trying to get their goes intas, as Jethro Bodine used to call them. One goes into one time, one goes into two times. They're doing their pluses and minuses. They're not ready for algebra, and that's okay. They're still getting an experience. But then you'll see guys come through and you'll be like, okay, this guy's starting to get it. And you start having, indie talent, and I've had this experience with both male and female talent where they come and say, hey, I was thinking, what do you think if, I do this thing, I should maybe do it on this side. And if the camera was here, and I'm like, yes, you just fucking broke a pane where you're not thinking like an indie wrestler. You just broke a fucking barrier in your brain where instead of going, hey, I'm going to run and hit the rope and fucking kick this person and it's going to look really cool and I'm going to slap my thigh and make a good noise and people will go, ooh. And you now, on top of all those things, which are super important, right? On top of all those things, you stopped and you went, this is how people will see it the other side of the lens. And that's what you need to do if you want to be, a television wrestling star. And that's the cool thing. So that's whatever form it takes. That's what I hope. As much as it's like Drum Boy said to me one time, when we run these little shows in the Legion, whatever else, and sometimes we do it in the afternoon with just the students or whatever. He'd be like, you seem to have more fun at these shows than you do at the big shows. Of course I do, because there's no work for me to do. You don't need to executive produce a fucking show in the in the Union Hall. Hey, put the ring in the center, put some chairs around it, turn the lights on. Have people walk through the door from the back. Can you get the sign up? Great. If not, put the pop-ups on each side. Make sure you play the right music. And I just get to sit back and watch. Those are super fun for me. And I think there's still a great experience, but that's not giving people those game day reps. Right. And that's what I hope. And that's why I never wanted to do it more than a couple times a year. It needs to be special. I want people to feel like I want to be on that show. Mm-hmm. And then I want them to have, some pretty cool experiences out there because it's different, right? And you've done both and both are cool, but there's something about walking out there on the stage, whether it's your name or video on the video wall,
Yeah.
and the fucking moving headlights are going and everything, and you're getting in there like you feel like a star. And everybody in wrestling at some point in time, hopefully on whatever level they're at, gets to feel that like I'm a fucking star. Like this is what when I sat in front of the TV and dreamed about being a wrestler, this is kind of what I thought it was.
Yeah. And you know what? Thank goodness that you had to go through that hard time of showing your back to the hard cam for your WWF match.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why you want to ingrain it, really want to teach them where to let them know where the hard cam is. So thank you for going through that and making sure that we know where everything is.
I suffered so that others in the future don't have to suffer.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why you're a good person. So now with wrestling, having BCW, how in the world did TNA fall into your lap?
So it's 2002, I think. I've pretty much thrown every penny I can beg, borrow, or steal into Border City Wrestling. Mm-hmm. We've had a hell of a run on local TV. We're in a few different, Drum Boy would know, we're in like 3 or 4 different markets. I said, we're running a bunch of shows, but like literally we'd go have these home run shows and like leave with money and then it'd piss it away, mm-hmm. And the next month. It's like I remember maxing out my credit cards, borrowing money, like God, who like God bless it. There's a sweet gem of a man, a mensch as they call him, Jim Langell is actually Holly from BCW, Holly Langell, but like, her dad, sweet. Like mm-hmm. I met Holly because her dad, like she was a huge wrestling fan and her dad wanted her to get involved. So, Jim's a great dude. And he basically even like he fronted me money. And I remember like he gave me money and I promptly pissed it all away. And I went to him, I was like, I lost. Like we're dead now. He's like, I'll give you more money. And I'm like, I'm gonna lose that too. Like I was like, don't do that. He's like, no, like I have faith. And I ended up paying him it all back. But it took a while. But the whole goal at that time, that 2000, 2001, 2002, Border City, having Terry Taylor come here to write the TVs with us and all that, it was about launching a real television product. It wasn't about putting it on a few channels here and there around Ontario. It was about, I had a guy I was doing business with. His name's Bob Wright, well known in the television industry. He's the guy who brought WCW to Canada. Syndicate Inc. was his company. Was dealing with him on some things, had some talks with some other people. Like we had a real shot at a couple of times, like we might actually get a TV deal. It was close enough that it was worth taking the shot. It was never like the odds in favor of it, but like we literally, like I remember getting a phone call from a guy at TSN and I hung up and I was like, this guy crazy? Like why is he calling me? Does he know how fucking stupid we are? Like, but like going through all this, I remember like we put a ton of money into shooting a pilot and I brought in like a legit television producer and went through all this stuff and we were pretty close and it didn't happen, which was probably going to be the outcome, but like we took our shot. Now it was like, okay, well now we just got to make enough money to pay some of these bills and pay people back, and we're still running and we're doing our thing. But I was kind of like, well, this didn't pan out and my brain is mush. Because I had by that point I had gone through a horrible thing with post-concussion syndrome. So I knew my time in the ring was pretty limited. So I basically in my brain decided, okay, well, it's time for me to put on my big boy pants. And that's when I went to work 5 days a week in construction. And it sucked. But I was making decent money and like, it didn't suck that bad. Like, let's call a spade a spade. My name was on the fucking equipment. So it's not like me and my brother and 2 other people started this company. It's not, but we're old school, right?
Swerve, holy.
Yeah, but even here's the thing. This is what I love about my family and my upbringing and so much. And there's lots of others like this too, but that old school mentality. Even though I was one of the owners of the company, I had to show up before everybody else and start their machines and turn on the coffee pot because I was the junior man. And that's what I had. And that I didn't mind as much as I hated getting up at 4 a.m. That I didn't mind. It was the actual fact that I found the work. God bless it. I didn't find it like you have to be one of those people. It's like I had a friend who he's worked in the Chrysler plant since we were in first year of university. And that's the only job he's ever had. He paid off his house years ago. He's got a great family. But I've said to him a million times, how do you do this? He goes, Scott, he goes, the second I punch in, if I punch in the clock, my brain punches out. He goes, and I don't even have a recollection of what's going on until I punch out to go home. And I just can't do that with my brain. So I was doing construction and still, doing a little bit of wrestling stuff. And I'd done a few things with the World Wrestling All-Stars, which had done Vegas, and we're doing overseas tours. And I got offered this gig. I remember it was November, December of 2002. And I think it was 2 weeks long. And the pay, for me at the time, was great pay. And I was being paid to be almost like the talent relations guy / tour manager. And I booked a bunch of the guys like Simon Diamond and Swinger and Joe Legend and, that Chris Sabin. And that's where I met Frankie Kazarian and,
okay.
So then this was basically somehow all these skills I had acquired through Border City Wrestling. I'm now using, and I'm making I was making, I don't remember if it was 3 or 4. It was at the time, I remember thinking this is a ton of, and all I could think of was, I have so much money, I'm going to buy the best Christmas presents for my parents. My nephews are going to be fucking spoiled because I'm going to get and I have to say, shout out to Johnny Bravo, who for years, whatever the toy was you couldn't get, he got for me.
Oh, Bravo.
My nephews, grew up thinking when people would be like, well, you can't get those. I'd be like, my uncle can. I always say that Bravo was a part of the toy mafia because if you couldn't get it, he would get it. So and I went and did that tour. It was a good experience, and then the money was good, and I kind of started realizing I have a bit of a skill set. But I was at that point where I was a little bitter. And Jeff Jarrett wasn't on the whole tour, but he flew in for a few days. And because one of the shows we were doing was a pay-per-view. We're doing a pay-per-view in Glasgow, Scotland. So he flew in a couple of days before for that. And he was just it was just for him as a little break, right? A few days away from TNA and come do this deal. Mm-hmm. So everybody that's not working for him already is politicking for a job. My attitude is almost like, oh, fuck him. Not personally, because I don't know him really other than, hey, how you doing? I'm just I'm not fucking lowering myself and begging for a job. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like when they always say, how did the geeky guy get the prom queen? Well, he didn't pay her no attention. Mm. Everybody wanted to talk to Jeff. I was kind of well, you know what? He didn't hire me. He's not even I don't fuck him. I don't even I'm not going over there and gonna sit there and kiss up. So he came over and started. I remember I was standing at the bar. He came over and started talking. He's like, "What's your deal?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What's my deal?" He's like, "What's your deal? What do you do?" I was like, "I don't understand what you're talking about." He's like, "Well, what do? You a promoter, rider, booker, tour, whatever." I don't know, whatever pays. And I walked away. I was like, good talking. I went and I sat down, and I sat down with Kazarian. And Kazarian goes, "Dude, you just walked away from Jeff Jarrett?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "While he was trying to talk to you?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Why?" I go, "I don't know." I just was in a pissy mood, right? And I was yeah, fuck it. I was kind of mad because partly because I'd sent him a tape and never got hired, right? All bitter Russians.
Yeah.
And we ended up hanging out there a little bit, and we never talked about anything about me working there. Somewhere in around the time, I don't remember if it was before or after, D'Lo got let go, and I handled kind of his talks with to have him debut in TNA. And then while I was doing that, it must have been after the tour. While I was doing that, I ended up, think about these times, I called the TNA office. Jeff ended up answering. So I was talking to him about something, and I said, "Hey, I've got this kid, Chris Sabin. I don't know if you got a chance to see him. He's really good." He's like, "Send me a tape," and that was it. Right? Then I sent a tape up, and Jeff ended up calling me, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "I want to book this kid." I was like, okay, cool. So, whatever. He's like, I need him on this day, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, he'll drive down, whatever. And then I kind of just sort of like, hey, like, he's like, what are you up to? I said, not much, just kind of doing my thing. And, I go, I watched the show the other night, like enjoyed it. Like, hey, if there's ever anything I can do, like, let me know. I said, and if there's not, like, cool too. Like, I understand. And I think it's funny that you bring that up.
Huh.
And then he goes, I need to hire, he goes, like a match agent, like a producer. And I go, okay. And he goes, I got 3 people in mind. And I go, all right. And he goes, Barry Windham, Mike Graham, and you. And I go, okay, cool. Thank you. I mean, I'm honored to even, that you would even consider that. He's like, well, I kind of watched what you did, He's like, and I kind of like, he goes, you got energy. He goes, and your passion, and he goes, you get shit done. He goes, which one of the 3 do you think I should hire? And I wanted to go like, well, you fucking buffoon. Of course, if you hire me, like, fuck those other guys. So I sit there and I kind of politically go, well, if you want to hire the guy who's done the job at the highest level, well, then I guess it's Mike Graham, because when I broke in, when I was with WCW, Mike was the agent for a lot of my matches. So he's been there, he's done it. I go, and if you want the guy who is the best wrestler, I go, then, and he's going to have the most respect probably from the locker room. He's Barry Windham, man. He's Barry fucking Windham. And I go, all I can say is I would show up and, like, damn it, like, you get the best that I could do. And he goes, yeah, what would you say if I said I was thinking that you were probably the guy? And without hesitating, I go, I would say you probably can't afford Barry Windham or Mike Graham. and he popped. And then we talked with him. He goes, hey man, what are you doing on Wednesday? And I was like, I said, I don't know. I'd probably sit here at the bar. And I said, I'll be honest, I kind of hosted a little thing where we show your pay-per-view and try to sell a few specials. And he goes, how would you feel? He goes, your boy's driving down here. He goes, well, can you like head on down with him? He goes, me and you can talk. And I go, yeah, you know what? Sure. So I did it. Me, Saban, and Zach Gowen all drove down there. Fun little trip. And I got to the building the day of the show and like walked around and everything. And he was great. Like, Jeff had me sit in the production meeting. He's like, hey, this is Scott. He's from Canada. He's sitting in, blah, 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 blah. Didn't give him any color. But then in the meeting, he turned to me and goes, well, Scott, what do you think? And I was like, I would just spit out ideas, whether they were good or bad. I was like, what I knew I didn't want to say was, I don't know. And I remember Mike today telling me, a while later, he's like, because that first day that you were there, he goes, you know what I'd liked? He goes, he never went to you and you didn't have an answer prepared. He goes, a couple of the things you suggested, I completely disagree with. He goes, but you spoke, you said it respectfully with authority, and we're kind of like, here's a thought for you to consider. He goes, and I liked that. And I ended up like doing stuff during the day, but I was supposed to just be watching. But I was putting together a match, and they were putting together a match, sorry. And Jerry Lynn, who's awesome. I'm sure you've been around Jerry. Yeah. One of the best human beings in the world. He's so underrated as a talent.
Yeah.
He was doing a match. I can't remember who it was, but it was like, I don't know whether it was him and AJ Loki, whatever it was. Like, it was a pretty cool match. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what's that thing that me, you, and Sabu used to do? And we're trying to think, and then we're sitting there, and then we're talking about it, and it ends up, without even realizing, I'm in the ring, and me and Jerry are talking, and like, yeah, we used to do this. And I see Jeff walking by, and he stops, and he looks, and we lock eyes, and I think, I'm fucked. He's looked up, and now he sees me in the ring laying out like the semi-main event. Like, he's going to be like, fuck this guy. So I scurry away, and I go to Jeff, and I go, hey, excuse me. I go, he goes, yeah, what's up? And I go, I just saw you were walking by, and like, I kind of saw you look when I was up in the ring. He goes, yeah. And he kind of like laughed, and I go, wasn't trying to be disrespectful. Like, I worked with Jerry a lot over the years, and he had asked about a spot, and like, I wasn't trying to stop. He goes, Scotty D, he goes, we got 9 matches and no fucking producers. Go put together as many fucking matches as you can, because it just takes my ass. So it was kind of fun. And then, that show, and then I helped with another little thing here or there. And I was just kind of like, just if somebody asked me, I tried to help. I didn't want to step on any toes. And then enough of that in my career. And then I waited and waited. And after the show, Jeff finished up all his stuff. I was, of course, like the last person he was going to talk to. And I remember he's sitting there, total Double J style, like khaki shorts and runners, no shirt, towel over his shoulder, Coors Light in his hand. And we're on the stairs of the old fairgrounds. And he'd just be like, we'd be talking, and he'd stop every so often. He'd shake his head and go, "How old are you?" And I go, "I'm 28. And he goes, "Fuck, you're young."
Yeah.
And then, you thought I was 48, but or 50. and we would talk a little more, and we're talking philosophy and everything else. And look, and I was like, we're having a good, and he'd stop and he'd go, "What 28? And he goes, "God, like, fuck," like that. Jeez. And he did this 3 or 4 times, to the point I was almost like, okay, fuck, like, is he fucking with me? And then he did it, and I go, look, I tell you something. I can't promise you I'm going to do a good job. I can't promise you that you're going to end up thinking that I was the right decision. I said, I can only promise you 2 things. You're going to get the absolute most that I can give to you. And I assure you, above anything else, I guarantee you without a shadow of doubt, if you give me a chance and you hire me, every single second that I am here with you, I will be 1 fucking second older than I was. And again, he just starts laughing. And he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I think it's time. Let's go grab a bite to eat." And we went, and then that's how I ended up starting. Like I was there the next week.
Wow. And the rest is history. Wow.
That's it. But I mean, I have to say, like, what an awesome fucking chance for 28 years old. Nobody knew who I was as a wrestler, right? Like I'm proudest of the fact that I made a living just eking out, some TV matches here, working some dying territories for $500-600 a week, like, hustling indies and everything else. But I mean, I paid my bills as an indie wrestler, but like nobody's going, "Hey man, this is the guy." And I had really at that point done Border City Wrestling, and I had done, a couple of WWA things. Mm-hmm. And for a guy like Jeff to go, all right, like, I mean, partially, yeah, like they were on a shoestring, but I mean, he could have got somebody else to do the job. And I mean, his big thing at the time was he told me, "I want my guy. I want a fresh guy. I don't want a guy who's bitter from WCW. I don't want a guy who's, done this and just going through the motions." He goes, "I want a guy who's going to wake up every morning excited to come to work. I want a guy who's going to think, how are we going to do this absolutely better than it's ever been done before?" And I like to think that's what I did, is what I tried to do. But I mean, yeah, he put a lot of responsibility on a completely unproven 28-year-old guy. And I went there, and within a matter of weeks, I was doing the finishes and helping lay out all the matches, including, and this to me was the first time that he did this to me, because I have a world of respect for Jeff as a Brave. I remember him coming to me, "I got to handle some shit. Can you kind of work there? I want this. He kind of had an eye, and he wanted me to go get with whoever he was working with. I guess it was Chris Harris, who it was, and kind of start putting some things together." And I was like, this guy is trusting me to kind of like put the mechanics of his match, because he just wanted to come in and say, "Okay, let's move this here. I want to do this, guitar, whatever, And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like I'm 28 years old, and I'm having to come up with, 8 or 9 finishes for every Wednesday night.
Wow.
So.
Damn. You're successful. How proud is your mom for you to go to be like a baseball, like pretty much a baseball star for high school?
Oh, see, I love you. I was an okay teenage baseball player, but I'll take baseball star. Yeah. Look, my mother, I think everybody in the world hopefully thinks that their mother is the best mother, right? Mm-hmm. I certainly think mine is. And in my world, there's like of all the amazing mothers, there's millions and millions. I got the absolute best because
Oh,
she did everything for me and my brother. There is
yeah.
never a baseball game. Like in my brain, there was never a baseball game that she wasn't at, a hockey game she wasn't at, a football game she wasn't at. Like whatever we did as kids, she was there. And then everything else that she did, she was constantly there. And it's like I remember somebody one time saying, like, and this is sad, and this is how we sometimes don't appreciate mothers enough. My father worked a ton, right? We had
Mm-hmm.
offices in Windsor, Toronto, and Sudbury, and he was always on the go. And people are like, well, what was it like not having your father around? And I go, like in my brain, that's not how it was. And I go,
Yeah.
as I think about it, he wasn't there in the morning. He wasn't there during the day. He wasn't there at dinner. But the majority of the nights, even if it meant he had to drive, straight to our house and get in at 9:30, he walked
Mm-hmm.
in that door, even if he had been in Toronto for dinner. And I saw him. My father never sat through a full baseball game. But I knew if I was playing in Windsor, the chances were at some point in time, I'd look up and leaning against the bleachers would be him with a toothpick in his mouth.
Oh,
He might be there for 10 minutes. He might be there for a half an hour. He might
yeah.
be there at the end of the game. I might look up in the fifth inning. He's there. I might look up in the seventh and he's gone. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like he was always around. But I was like, I don't feel that he wasn't there. Now, he wasn't there like my mom was. But the fact was, like, my parents had an old fashioned, as new and different and interesting as their relationship would be, which would be a whole other podcast. She looked after me and my brother, and he looked after making sure she had everything to look after me and my brother.
Oh.
And that's how it worked. And, I don't know. I hope she's proud. I think she's proud. I don't know. I mean, isn't every mother proud? Like, what do you have to do to make a mother proud? Like exist?
Well, I guess
Every
just
mother I think is proud, right? Of their
yeah.
child. You hope.
Well, I would think of, they want their child to be happy doing what they're doing. You don't really have to worry about your child being, sad or just hating their job, hating life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I would hope that she does. I mean, she shouldn't have concerns about like, hey, like, what's he ever going to do to get by in life? I think my entire life, from when I was a teenager till now, has always been, I know how to make something happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's. I think she said it a few times. Everybody would probably love if their kids grew up and be a doctor and a lawyer, right? That's great. But that wasn't me. I think she knows that she gave birth to somebody who's a little left of center. And, everybody when they're growing up says they want to do this or they want, like, most people don't say and go, hey, I want to work a job where I'm able to pay my bills and make my mortgage payment and
Mm-hmm.
have a decent little life. Like when you're a kid, right? You want to be a fucking astronaut or you want to play center field for the Blue Jays. You want to do whatever else, right? Like from the age of 10, I wanted to be a wrestler,
Oh.
and so I mean, look, I ended up doing what I wanted to do. Like I tell everybody who would walk through the doors of the dojo, by stepping in this dojo, you've done more than 99% of the people in this world will ever be able to say they did.
Right.
You dreamed of doing this, and you're here, and just walking through that door and being here today. If you walk out of here and never come back, you took more of a chance than 99% of people in this world because they dreamed about it, they wanted about it, but they never stepped up and did what you're doing. So if nothing else, walk out of here proud that you did that. And I truly think that's like go take your shot. Go
Mm-hmm.
take your shot. You know. So I think she, man, look, I think she worried about it a lot over the years. I mean, my poor mother was, she was there when I got blinded in my one eye. She was there when I tore up both my knees. She was there, she's the first person I saw after waking up after having my shoulder done. Like
Oh.
she saw the physical stuff. She was like, I didn't see it, thank God. But I heard from people like what her face was like when she found out. Like me and two other wrestlers were in a terrible accident on I-75. Luckily, all three of us ended up, but I ended up being shot out of the truck, and I was like rolling through traffic on I-75.
What happened?
You know, Gaza Coleman fell asleep and flipped my truck.
Oh my gosh!
And by miracle of miracles, we're all okay. But my poor mother got a phone call, to say like, look, there was an accident, and if you saw the truck that we were in, it didn't look like a truck anymore afterwards. Like,
oh my gosh.
And you're just like, geez, like she dealt with all that. So I think I certainly gave her more than enough stress, but I think she hopefully is like, well, at least he did, career wise what he wanted. Maybe I made some terrible personal choices in my life. But I mean, there was something I wanted to do, and I went out there and I tried to do it. And some level found, decent, level of success.
Decent. Okay, there. You're super successful. And speaking of making stuff happen, I have to bring this up, of course. We have to talk about you offering Josh his Impact contract after his match at a Destiny Wrestling show. Mm-hmm. Because it came to a complete surprise for us, obviously. But was this something that you had, that you knew? Like, how long did you plan this? No,
you were there. You were there, right?
I was there, yeah. But I was in Santino's office, so I wasn't backstage. But he told me, he was like, "Oh, I was just walking back, and he's in his zone." Looking for his opponent, and then all of a sudden, someone's telling him, "Oh, you gotta head back. Scott's calling for you. Scott's calling for you." And he's like, "Huh? What?" So I didn't know at that point when it was happening. I'm like, "Did Josh know this?" And he just like didn't tell me.
Yeah, there was no plan of going out. Like there was no like, hey, when this is over, like there was none of that. Yeah. Iceman knew nothing. Nobody knew nothing because I didn't know nothing.
Because you were doing commentary for the show. Right?
Yeah. Who did he wrestle that night?
Oh, I forget.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I remember, what was it? Jay Phoenix, was that his name?
Yeah.
I weirdly remember meeting him at a show, and I'm sure I met him somewhere else, and I'm sure he'll correct me. The first time that I remember meeting him it was like a warehousey kind of place in Hamilton. Donnie Abreu was involved with it, doing commentary and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's where I first met him. And then I saw him a little bit over the years, and then a friend of mine said that she was going to do something dopey, and she was dating a wrestler, and wanted to make sure I wasn't going to kill him. And thankfully, she chose about his non-offensive. Like, how does somebody have an issue with Josh, right? Like, if you told me you were dating Channing Decker, I would have slit his throat and yours. He was like, yeah, okay, Josh. And then, and look, he, I follow him and we chatted here and there, but we, I don't chat to a lot of people. Yeah, mm-hmm. You know that. And then, it's, I don't know, it's all come some of the stuff here and there. And look, there's no question him being around Destiny. Like I spend a lot of time around, Iceman stuff and Santino's and everything, and saw some of his good stuff. And I mean, I don't know. I remember sitting there, I was still doing commentary, and I was texting back and forth with Don Callis. And I was like, I think I'm going to sign Josh Alexander tonight. And he's like, who? And I go, the headgear guy. He writes back, he goes, why? I go, I'm just going to sign him. And then Callis's thing is always, oh yeah, you just like to go out there and hear yourself fucking talk and get the big applause. And it might be something true to that. I am a bit of an egomaniac at times. And it felt right. It felt right. And I got in the ring. And it's one of those things too. It's funny, right? Like I always think like at some point in time, I'm going to do that. And somebody's going to go, well, no, actually, like I have no interest in doing that or something, right? Or, I meant to tell you before the show when we were saying hellos. I meant to tell you that I report to the PC on Tuesday. It's got to happen, right? But I mean, I mean, look, I knew he. Look, nobody gets immigration struggles and issues more than I do because I was like, you know, the Ontario wrestling OG of border issues, right? I spent 16 months where I couldn't cross to go to a Tigers game or go have lunch with a friend. Like I wasn't even allowed to step foot in the country. And then it took a lot of, you know, finagling to get that fixed. And then it took years after that before, like I had to learn how to do a work visa, you know, like TNA was not going to pay for a work visa or not going to pay a lawyer to do all the, like they didn't care about paying the fee. Mm-hmm. All they knew is that visas could cost tens of thousands of dollars and lawyers could run up bills. And so it was like, basically you want a visa, then you go get a fucking visa. So I became an expert on, you know, P1 visas specific for how it relates to a wrestler. Oh. And I did them all for TNA for years. And even after I left, I still used to help out people in TNA. And there's wrestlers that hit me up. And the rules have changed. Like I kind of have the gist of it, but not the nailed down, like laser focused. I knew exactly how this is what the letter needs to say. These are the materials you need. Mm-hmm. And I know Josh had that, right? And I know I watched. Look, there was a point where people were like, "Well, he can't go to the States." And I was like, "Well, so what? There's fucking 100 other guys that are as good as him. So what?" Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be a dick, but that's not my problem. Then it got to the point where he kept getting better and better, mm-hmm. and now it's at the point where I can literally see that he's suffocating because he can't get any opportunity. Mm-hmm. You know, and I always say I am way harder on Canadians and especially Ontario talent than I think I am in others, you know, because I know that to make it, they need you to be able to succeed in the US as a Canadian. You don't need to be as good as the American. You need to be better. Like I always say, remember, the test for that visa is supposed to be that you're extraordinary. It's not that you're average. It's that you're fucking extraordinary. The litmus test is supposed to be that what you can do, no American can do. Now, that's a little bit extreme, but that is how it's actually structured. And if you approach it that way, then you're never going to get denied and not get it if you can prove that you are better than what's out there. Josh went from being good to being very good. To me, like, yeah, like this guy, if he wasn't Canadian, would have a chance. To like, okay, like, it's getting to be the point where it's almost criminal that this guy is can't go ply his trade on some larger scale. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to his credit, like I don't think, or to his detriment, I don't know. I don't think Josh ever walked up to me and said, "Hey, is there anything you can do to help me?" If he did, then I'm a shitty person because I don't remember it. I don't like we had conversations and stuff and everything else. And I mean, you know, we had little like chats here and there, and usually short. But like, I don't like it. Like, I don't ever remember him. There's lots of wrestlers that came to me and like, "Hey,
yeah, no, I don't think that's his style."
Yeah, right. And as I know him more now, I don't think he's built that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I watched it, and I can relate to it. Look, I wasn't as talented as Josh, but I watched others get opportunities that I thought I could have got, if not for that fucking border. Mm-hmm. And then he got so good. And it's like this, like, so I was like, well, and then I don't know. I just basically got up from the desk and took a microphone and I'd even better. What if he wouldn't have came back? I just been left standing there like, all right, everybody, have a great night. But I mean, you know, and that like you talk about cool moments. That to me was a cool moment. You know. Absolutely. That was, I mean, it was a real moment. Like, there was no, I have no idea what I'm going to fucking say when my mouth opens. I think you know that. And that's the scary part, right? And if you look at it through my life, there was years where I was like, oh God, if he could just keep his mouth shut. But in those situations, like, I don't sit there and say, okay, well, I should say this and this and this and this. I was at the desk. I was like, oh, you know, I was like, yeah, this would be a pretty nice ending to the show if I called him out and signed. You know, never, like I said, never occurring in my brain that he might say no. Or if you goes, well, I think you should send it to my lawyer and we can have a talk on Tuesday. I don't know, right? So I did it. And there was a nice little, I think, I mean, a nice little moment there. And I think the fans that were there got a cool little moment. I think that they'll remember that. And like, I'll remember it. And it was nice because that was, look, I always say, nobody can make anybody a star, you know, and it's the old Vince McMahon line. We give opportunities, you know, and one of the things that's amazing that I get to do is to say, you know, sink or swim, here's a fucking chance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Josh could have like walked out of there and came to Impact and shit the bed.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident by then he wasn't going to. You know, I was pretty darn confident. But it could happen. You know, there's can't miss prospects that miss, and there's people that should never, you're like, there's no way. And then there's the Johnny Bravo story, right? Like should never do anything outside of, you know, stock shelves at a Toys R Us. And next, you know, he's an entertaining character on television. And the greatest human being on the planet. But I mean, so I don't know, like it felt right. It felt right, so I did it. That's a lot. That's a lot of what I do. And sometimes it's right, and there's other times I look back and I go, well, I was probably wrong there.
It was definitely like the most unique moment to offer a contract and to get that. Oh, I just remember the roar from all the fans, and to see everyone like move up to the ring and start slapping, and just looking at everyone's expressions, that they couldn't believe that was happening. And it's especially in Canada. Surreal moment.
There's one video, because there's a few different videos, because the cameras weren't rolling, which is actually, if I had a half a fucking brain, I would have said keep the cameras rolling, you know. But there's the fan footage of it, right?
Yeah.
And one of them, you can see it, and it's got the shot, and you can zoom in on it. Iceman is on the hard camera side of the ring.
Oh yes.
And when I'm talking, he's just like nodding along, so he's nodding along so hard. It's like his head's gonna actually like unscrew from his neck, right?
I remember.
And when people clap, he's clapping so hard, his hands are gonna actually break off.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, he is actually, and I don't care if he doesn't like this, and I think he'd actually admit it, he is just tears streaming down his face.
Yeah.
Because for you know, Iceman is a unique individual who I love. You know, some people love, some people hate, and that's always going to be him. And there's some days I do both. Mm-hmm. But he so badly, like with every ounce of his being, wanted Josh to succeed.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And I knew there was that. And then there was also that same thing, that same pride that I get. Iceman gets to know he championed Josh as hard or harder than anybody, you know, had. And he gets to be a part of that moment. So you watch Iceman, tears down his face, nodding his head. His hands had to be like throbbing red.
Yeah.
You know.
I love George. He's a good guy. Yeah. So in your speech, okay, not only obviously you mentioned offering a contract, but you also mentioned taking me to the Blue Jays game again. So I'm still waiting. Just so you know.
Well, we need to do that. So I'm happy. I think what I said is, after, you know, we quote unquote agreed, I said, "Is your wife allowed to go to a baseball game again?" So, which to his credit, you know, he never said no. He knew, you know, our little group hung out and did things. That's why I remember saying to you when you told me, I said, "Why the fuck didn't you bring him tonight?" You know?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? We were at the Greek pizza place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're still waiting for the Saganaki. Yeah. The big guy.
He did come. Yeah. But then he did come.
He came afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you should have at least invited him to the ball game.
No. Well, he didn't really know you. And I said, okay, why don't you come? We're going to go eat. Why don't you come maybe after? And he said, well, let's kind of play it by ear and see. And that's when you said, well, why didn't you bring him? And that's when I messaged him. I said, okay, come. It's fine.
All right. Well, let's turn the tables. How nervous were you telling me that you were dating a wrestler?
Did you know or something?
No. I'm asking you questions. How nervous were you when you're like, I'm dating somebody? And I was like, cool. And you're like, you might know him. And I was like, okay. And you're like, he's a wrestler. And I'm kind of like, uh-huh.
Yeah. Just
how nervous were you?
I was nervous because as your tone just kept getting like just your disapproval, the tone of your voice. Yeah. I was like, oh God.
Wow.
Just keep going. Just keep telling him.
Well, the way you like, I think if you would have been like, hey, like I'm dating somebody, you know him, he's a wrestler, like, you know, like, and like, hey, it's like, we're like, oh, okay. But the way you're doing it, and you're almost getting like more nervous with each with each layer to it. And I start thinking it goes from being like, okay, like okay, to like, okay, like wait a second, like who the hell is she dating? Like like what heinous, horrible human beings?
No.
And then she's like, then you're like Josh Alexander, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay.
Because I know you like to look out for some people. And yeah, you know, I just didn't want you to be disappointed.
Well, and I'm not, because you found yourself one of the few decent ones.
Yes.
So see, that was fun. That night was like, to me, that was fun. So like there's a memory sitting there in the pizza place afterwards, you know, watching you squirm as you get something, and me starting to get stressed, like, oh my God. It's like rolling through my head, like is she gonna tell me she's dating John Bolin? Like, where is this going?
Oh, no.
This would be really awkward because I'm gonna have to call John Bolin and tell John Bolin to take care of John Bolin.
No, it was just like the whole like wrestler aspect part, you know. Yeah. Okay, how about one more game before we say goodbye? Before we say, hey, I'll see you at the Blue Jays game. All right. My Survivor Series game. You're going to choose 4 non-wrestling athletes that you'd like to have on your squad.
4 non-wrestling athletes.
Yeah.
Any era?
Any era.
Okay.
I
Ben
probably
Johnson.
won't know. Oh, okay. I was about to say I probably won't know any of them, but I know Ben Johnson.
Yep. Ben Johnson. Barry Bonds.
Don't know him.
Barry Bonds? Oh, he's hit more home runs than anybody, and there was a whole steroid scandal thing. So I guess right now I'm going for the all dope Olympics. I got Ben Johnson and Barry Bonds. Football wise, Lyle Izado, who you won't know. That's 3. So that's baseball, football, track and field, and Bill Lambier.
Who?
Bill Lambier, who I despise. He played for the Pistons. I'm trying to not pick a Celtic. So Bill Lambier was like one of the main guys on the Pistons Bad Boys teams. And he was he's a terribly, as far as for professional athlete, he's about as unathletic as can come. He's just a big oaf of a white guy, but was as agitating as could possibly be, you know. So I picked 4 people from 4 different sports.
Yeah,
So there you go.
I was surprised with track.
Yeah. Although I should swap because now as I think about it, Ben Johnson is obviously his scandal. Barry Bonds has his scandal. And Lyle Alzado had, his whole thing was, was related, he had a whole thing with steroids and growth hormones. I should have found another dirty athlete. But I'm gonna go with one Oafy white dude. And he played like Ivy League ball too or something, like really like obnoxious. Like he'd be a great heel because he's just a real obnoxious, shitty character.
Perfect.
There you go.
I like it. Okay, so we can catch Impact Wrestling every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can catch it on Access TV or on Twitch. Scott, where can everyone hit you up on social media?
Yep, you've got my Twitter is at Scott Demore, and my Instagram, which I don't even know how the account got made, I think is Scott.Demore. I think is how it works. But I think you can look up at Scott Demore and it pulls it up too. So I'm new to Instagram. I have no idea how I made the account. I hit a button on Facebook, and next thing you know, I had an Instagram account.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Scott's on Instagram. That's really weird, especially after talking to you today with you not liking pictures, taking pictures.
Yeah, but legit, I was looking at something on Facebook. And it was one of those things like to continue. It's like you had to click something. And I clicked something to look or read or whatever. And next thing you know, I had an Instagram account. And I'm like, oh, I guess I have Instagram. So I'm just starting to try to. I don't understand the difference between posting stuff and putting it in your story and all that stuff. Maybe I'll figure it out one day, or maybe one of these days I'll have Drumboy show me how to delete the account. But for now, I have Instagram, I have my Twitter, and I guess you can't exist in the modern world without social media. So there you go. But follow Impact Wrestling on all your social media. Check out in the Impact Plus app. Amazing stuff on there. You can also catch up on the show if you don't there. And for our Canadian viewers, I would be remiss if I didn't say you can also on Thursday nights at 8:00. You can catch Impact Wrestling on Fight Network and on Access on Thursday nights at 7:00. You can catch BTI if you missed the previous week's show, or if you just want to see some kick-ass dope wrestling leading into Impact every week. It's there. And then Impact replays in Canada every Saturday, 7 p.m. on Game TV. And the coolest thing about Game TV is if you live in Canada and you have if you have cable or satellite on an English provider, you get Game TV. There's not a single English cable or satellite provider in the country where you don't get Game TV. So check it out. If you don't have Fight Network, check it out. Saturdays, 7 p.m. You get to see the full Impact there. And not a lot of people don't have cable or satellite in Canada, so there's a good chance you got it. And if somehow you don't, check it out on Impact Plus. And then don't forget, every Friday at 6:00, if you missed it, you can catch the replay on Twitch.
Scott, thank you so much. I hope next time I see you will be, I was going to say the Skydome, whatever it's called now, Rogers Center.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Let's do it.
Okay. That does it for tonight, guys. Until then, see you next Tuesday.